Arena. This is a show where we play and watch competitive video games. You can get that on there. Make sure it's not locked prematurely, because I know I do that sometimes. All right. This is a show where we watch and play competitive video games. We are concluding this week Speedrunning Month. I celebrated Speedrunning Month by playing and trying to speedrun Celeste. And we've played Speedrunners. We've played Celeste on stream a couple of times. I'm not going to play any Celeste, but we'll watch a little. And we're just going to be watching a bunch of different various speedruns and talking about them from an academic perspective. If you're very new to the stream, we're all academics trying to make our way in this lonely world. I'm Eric. I'm one of your hosts. PhD student here at UW Milwaukee.
Alright, I'm Janelle. I'm also your host. I'm also a PhD student here at UWM.
I'm Daniel, visiting scholar at UWM, friend of the show. I'm here also at all times.
At all times. Just doors is like sleep. Open a little.
Alright, so this drip coffee, should I keep it right here or should I move it over
it
to
should be somewhere safe.
Any other surface where I'm not? I flail, I flail, so. So today we're going to be watching. I'm going to move this stuff over just a little bit. We're going to start by watching the world record speedrun and my record speedrun. Now here's a fun fact. Last night I beat sub 50. In fact, I blew it out of the water. I got 47 minutes. So I uploaded it to our YouTube channel. It's unlisted, so it's not going to be in people's feeds as the Arena episode -1, Eric's best time in Celeste. And so I didn't give commentary or anything. I was just recording my PC while I was doing it. And so the first 4 minutes and 30 seconds, I actually really flubbed a part very early on, and I was just like, I'll restart. And so then we're starting about a little bit after. And what I thought would be fun is to compare these runs next to each other. We'll keep the audio on for the good run. And you'll see I actually play in a windowed thing, so it's kind of unfortunate. This, Marlon, Ultra Marlon, currently has the world record in Celeste at 27 minutes and 22 seconds.
So this is the current world record?
This is the current world record as of right now, as far as I know. Interestingly, the world record in Celeste has been brought down many times in the past, month. This streamer I like, called Chai Kitty, had the world record for about a month, starting last month. Then then his record was beaten by a half second by Marlon, and then there was the race to get sub 27:30, and then Chai Kitty got the first sub 20. So Chai Kitty was second, and then he got the first sub 27:30. He got a 27:29. But then Chai Kitty, or Ultra Marlon, gets a 27:22. And so obviously that's insane. That's a big drop. Now, one thing to note is that Celeste is a really tough game. Marlon's best, it's kind of hard to see. We'll full screen it for a sec. His best possible time is 26:25, meaning that if he were to do his best on each split from the beginning to end, he would get a 26:25. Now, the fact that his best time before this run was 27:30.9 shows you how difficult this game is to play perfectly every time, right? To be as fast as possible.
So you are 20 minutes behind.
Yes,
these guys.
I'm 20 minutes behind. So we're gonna go ahead. We'll start mine there, and I'm gonna start his. And I think mine is a little bit. His was the Legend 27, and I'm gonna pause mine until they're about even. Okay, and so I get a little bit of a head start. So we got the prologue here, and we'll see. I had a head start, remember. Alright, he's already moved one screen over. And what I want to do is I want to do the first level at normal speed. And then I'm going to speed up mine. Because if I do it by 1.5 times, we'll actually be even.
That's wild.
Do you know,
So you see how he got there a lot faster, right? And so already he's beating me. One sec, we'll wait for the timers to stop.
Do you know, the hardware that he's playing on,
that was
in terms of controllers?
I can't find that out by going to Celeste on speedrun.com and selecting Celeste and he plays on PC. Let's see
But do you have like the controller?
I don't know the controller. I know that Chai Kitty plays on a keyboard, but TGH, who has I think number 3 or number 4 now, TGH is number 3. He plays on a PS4 controller. So I've been playing on a PS4 controller. I switched over because I was having trouble doing the diagonals, but we talked about that a little last week. So let's go ahead and keep going.
Is this something that like
we got into it pretty quick at the
the
same time.
speedrun community, like is there any rules, like is there any, oh my god.
So we're watching in real time him versus me. He's going a lot faster.
Oh my god!
It's funny because we're actually doing really similar strategies, but he's already a whole room ahead.
Well, that's kind of like
It's flawless.
Well, yeah, right? Like that. So that's my question. So is it that he's capable of doing this because the timing
I just
of
died, so
well, like timing those jumps perfectly seems to be at least in the first scene what got him right ahead, because that's all he was doing, was jumping. So does it make that much of a difference of just timing those jumps perfectly?
Timing jumps perfectly. Like it's part of its strategy and part of its execution, right? And so I would say Marlon has much better strategy, meaning like there's certain rooms where he'll do something just completely different than me. Then there's other rooms where I'll be doing the same general sketch of what Marlon is doing.
Sure.
But all right, so then Marlon just finished. Let's see how long it takes me to finish from this point.
Man, I mean, like watching you play, it seems like a human playing, but like watching him play, it doesn't feel like a
I agree.
human.
Would you say, because I think it might be, for me anyway, I feel like it's this, it almost feels like he's not touching the actual surfaces.
Yeah.
It's like he knows just how much contact his avatar needs to make with the mesh on every surface
Yes.
to say, now I've touched it enough and I can bounce off.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where so much of that time is getting shaved.
And at the same time, like
That's wild.
So
watching
completing
Eric,
go ahead.
you can feel that at sometimes he's hesitant to make a move, and like there are like little mistakes, like there are, like you can feel like his style of play, but the other guys, like it's so little, it feels like so effortlessly, you know what I mean, like
yeah. He's
it's
like
so
floating
minimal.
through.
Yeah, it's so like it's almost like mathematical, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you know what? You know what it's like? It's like, do you guys remember in arcade games, if you just leave the arcade running, it'll show you a simulation of what the game looks like?
yeah.
Right, so it'll simulate a Street Fighter match. It feels like that's what I'm watching.
Exactly.
I'm watching, like, the perfect simulation of the thing, but I have more fun watching you do it.
So here we had a 38-second difference between us. And so he's already blown me out of the water. That was a really good time. He got about a minute on that. It took me about a minute 30. So now we're going into old site. We'll keep it up for right now. We'll keep up the 1-to-1. Eventually we'll speed up mine to save time. Oops. So yeah, we'll wait until I catch up. Okay, we'll give me a little bit of a head start, and now we'll keep going.
I mean,
No, like...
Here, I think I died once or twice. Yep. I took I took the easy path. Wow, look how much slower the easy path ended up costing me.
Yeah, dude, that's wild.
I remember feeling during this run, like, you know, I should just like try to play it safe. Like I had died a lot on the run I did the day before at the very end and cost myself a sub 50 run. So I thought, you know, it'd be better if I just took my time a little bit more. And so sometimes there was rooms where I definitely was doing that.
I guess the other thing like about his run is like there's almost always like straight lines of movement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why it feels like robotic. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, it's like, it feels very mechanical when the player is operating faster than the game. Like, he had to wait for that little lever to open so he could actually go through.
It's like he has achieved like ultra instinct. You know what I
It's
mean?
exactly like that. That's exactly it.
Look at him go through this part. As I want to compare it to me later. Oh,
yeah.
he made a mistake.
Guess he doesn't have
He suddenly looks like me for a moment.
Yeah.
Guess he doesn't have
Sorry.
autonomous ultra
Yeah.
instinct.
I wonder where it's gonna go from there, like relentlessly autonomous ultra instinct. You know?
Relentless. You just keep adding adjectives.
Yeah.
I mean, they did that with the numbers, so like,
Yeah,
I
why
wouldn't
not,
be
right?
surprised. Dude, that's just so wild. You're right though about the straight lines. It feels like he's not really fucking with the diagonals either.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, like here, like I'm doing something kind of similar, right? I'm doing the bounce off the ground, which I practiced quite a bit, but I can't do it like nearly as well as he can, right?
And I wonder, like, my question about the controller is like, I wonder if the controller plays a part, like, if there is an optimal controller to do this kind of like perfect technique. You know what I mean?
I would say that like you have to be using a D-pad. All right, so now I'm even further behind. I'm now 1 minute and 30 seconds behind. So now we'll go ahead and get me caught up. We'll speed me up a little. Okay, 1.5 times speed. So now I'm just moving 50% just straight up faster, right? All right. Oh. All right. So let's see how I do moving 50% faster. Oh, I died. All right, so he takes the lead.
Worked out well.
All right, so he's still fast. Now, just remember, I want to keep reminding you guys, I am moving at 50% faster speed than I normally am. I died. Oh my gosh, I had a really hard time with this room. Fortunately, I had a really good rest of the run, so I might be able to catch up to Marlon due to my increased speed. We'll see. See, like, when you start speeding me up, I actually start to look like as fast as they move, right?
Yeah.
Alright, he still has a big lead on me right now, though. I died quite a bit early on in this one, but if I remember correctly, I didn't die very much after. I was so happy when I finished this, because I did get a 40. I got 47 minutes, which is like way better than my previous record of 50 minutes and 20 seconds. It's like I cut like multiple minutes out of my thing.
Like, he's definitely got like a room and some on you, but it's still pretty damn close. And you're right about the movement. The speed makes it look like just very, very similar. It seems like a lot of what he's doing, and as far as the timing, is like, yeah, just kind of like grazing the surfaces, but so much of it is just timing like the arc of whatever her jump looks like, so that he doesn't even need to touch the surfaces. A lot of it is just falling in the style.
I'm catching up.
A lot of style and grace. Man, Madeline really wants to get into the top of the mountain.
Gotta go.
Yeah.
I'm going.
The crazy thing is, it's not like this is my first time playing the game or anything, right? This is me after a full month of practice. You know what I mean? Like, I've run the game at least 50 times now.
I'd be very curious to see how many hours Marlon has.
And that's the thing, like, unrelated but also related. Like, this weekend there was like a huge like Smash tournament this year.
I watched like 12 to 15 hours of it. I watched all day yesterday.
So
that's awesome.
You certainly watched the Melee finals, right?
It was amazing, yes.
Yeah, so like this guy called Zane, like he's a like a post documentary gamer, like fighter, because like
basically he started playing the game in the 2010s.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that the game is 20 years old.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And like, because at some point like some guy like made like a homemade documentary, like it's not like homemade, it's not like trash, but like it's not a big production, you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
And that about
he's like a film school student.
Yeah.
Okay.
About like the competitive scene, and like at that point, like the game was already like
The doc
pretty
has
old.
a lot of. It's got like the first episode has over 1 million views and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
it's,
So
it's awesome. I mean, it's very interesting to
it
watch.
led to a big
Yeah.
resurgence in interest in the game.
And
It's
like
really
this,
cool.
so you have like now you have like melee players that are playing for like
Yeah, they're called.
20 years.
It's kind of an insult, but they're sometimes called doc kids, meaning like
Doc kids.
they started playing the game because of the documentary.
Yeah, and this guy that
I
won,
see.
they are one of those kids, you know, like, and he played against like one of like the gods of the game, you know, and it's amazing because like someone is picking that game up to play, like a game that was released in 2001, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and at the same time, like he mastered it like super like fast. Like I mean, he had less time playing it, practicing it, compared to the other like guys that are playing for 15
Yeah.
years. You know what I mean?
I
So-
feel yeah.
So I guess there is like some thing here to think about, like how someone can
pause
be
Marlon
like
here.
a natural. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like,
absolutely.
I don't like this.
Well, part of
name,
it,
but whatever.
yeah, part of it though isn't just. It's about. Isn't it also kind of about, how. Okay, so like, how the better you get at something, the less ability there is to go up, right? So like in this case with Zane, like yes, it took Zane a long time. It still took him, like he's been playing competitively for like 5 years. The doc came out in the 2013 or something like that.
Yeah.
So okay, we'll look at the actual times. 12:05. That's so like now total time. He really lost me. He was 3 minutes and 6 seconds faster over the
Wow.
whole thing. Keep playing from here, and so like with Zane, it's like right there's this peak of melee humanly possible, right? And the closer you get to the peak, the more
you
right.
flatline.
Yeah,
plateau,
and so like Zane just has to reach the same plateau that they're on, which definitely still takes a ton of time. But to some degree, also there's like, oh shoot, is this not playing? Oh, he waited a long time,
Oh.
which is
No
fine.
problem, like. No man, you could
Oh.
like you could just like
Well, give me a big.
restart the whole video and the guy would like win over you.
All right,
Oh no.
right, yeah.
That's pretty
We'll see if
close.
we'll see if I can win this time. I got a head start. We got to Grandma at about the same time. I fucked up there. Anyways,
It's already over. He's already in front of you.
there's got to be a point where I'm not so slow, right? Because I am 1.5 times as fast. So like, this time we're actually I'm
Yeah,
only
these are
like
really
one
close.
screen behind. I die here. Darn it. Anyways, so but there's also like right there is skill gets built up communally over time, right?
Yeah.
So in theory, like someone picking up melee today is in a kind of a better spot for learning the game than somebody picking up melee
True.
back in 2001, right? Because there's so much more inbuilt community knowledge that you can rely on to get better. And so, for instance, like this is why, like when a world record gets broken in a speedrunning game, you'll often see a bunch of other people break that record. It's because like if some new strategy's out, let's say it's it's like so
It's
some
a meta game.
yeah, it's kind of like a metagame in
Yeah.
speedrunning where, you can do this to do this part faster. Well,
Yeah.
now I can accomplish that, and then it's kind of weird because it's like somebody else used to have the world record, and you could say that their world record was more impressive than you getting 6th place or something like
Sure.
that. But you now have 6th place, and you've beaten the old world record, but only because you had this new strategy or something.
Yeah, so like you didn't come up with a strategy, but you found it, and so you were already fast.
Mhm.
So now you just have the added benefit of whatever new knowledge was come up with.
And that happens, I think, in all competitive games, which is why.
Yeah.
Yeah, darn it. It's funny I can just tell I know I like where I died last night. And this is a run where I had way less deaths than normal. You're right. I am so far behind right now. Maybe we need to give me a 1.75 times boost. Not the full double time, right? But getting pretty close.
I'd be curious to see what the kind of comparison is like at double time.
Alright, we'll do the next round at double time then. But yeah, so like, it's kind of interesting how we could call it communal skill has like such a big impact, right? On not just, I think it's really obvious in speedrunning titles. Like it's like how in any given game that you watch, you can like learn things about speedrunning as a whole. Sure. I think one of the things we can learn from regular speedrunning is how much community knowledge impacts performance, because it's so evident. And like, right, in like a shooter game, it can be like, well, it's just clicking the other person's head, right? I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying like you can somehow reduce it to that. Whereas with speedrunning, when you have to see side by side, like a strat against a strat.
Pause this one.
Yeah, we'll pause it once he gets.
Yeah.
I'm not too far behind. This is the end of the level.
I know what you mean though, and I think you're right. Like, I think it is definitely obvious in speedrunning titles for what you just explained, where it's like new strategies introduced, the whole game or the whole scene changes. Mm-hmm. It's also, I think, really obvious in team-based games. I think of things like Overwatch, League of Legends, Dota.
I think I took a break to get water here. Anyways.
Nice.
All right, go ahead.
But I think of those games, and it's like, I think that as things change, or even if one person begins to introduce something, it will totally shift the way that others play. Like, as the meta begins to change slightly in competitive and league games, I think it's also really apparent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so I'm at ×2 speed. Now I'm gonna have to talk about. Now I'll have to give some background. So in Celeste, there are these. I have a huge head start.
No problem.
Well, I'm at ×2 speed, so maybe I'll win one here. But now here's something that's interesting. In Celeste, there's these things called B-sides, and a B-side is like the same kind of thematic concerns as the level, and the same like mechanical things. Here he's gonna do this awesome skip, where he skips the spikes that I just had to go through. But they're usually way harder challenges. You have to unlock them in the level. But now there's like, it's not necessarily a glitch, we'd say, but because I think it might be an intended mechanic now. But you can actually unlock the B-side in a level, beat the B-side, and it allows you to continue going on to the next chapter.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And so what we're going to see is I was so frustrated with this room. I died multiple times. And like, this is a room I don't normally die on. And so I was like, oh so my gosh. I think I just got in my own head, you know. And so he is like, we can see we've actually completely diverged paths.
Yeah.
He is like, I'm moving so fast. He's going to get the B-side here, and then he's going to do the B-side side. So I'm gonna go ahead and we'll skip forward just a little bit. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
And so, because there's a skip you can do on the B side that makes it actually like a half minute faster if you do it optimally than doing the other side optimally, or doing the A side optimally rather. And so, but to me, the B side is just so much harder. Like this room in particular, this is like the room where you have to do the skip. This part is just really hard for me. Like, it took me a long time to beat it on my casual playthrough.
Damn.
So you go down and then you can skip that room, or you're not supposed to be able to access there, but you can do it if you don't fall up, or if you reset the room like that.
Oh.
And so now that he's skipped a big portion of the level, he is going up here. And so you see me, I'm fighting the little guys right now.
Yeah. So does this bypass that entirely?
Yeah, so he doesn't have to do any of the stuff I'm doing because he's doing the B side. Right. And then once you complete the B side, we'll be on the same go back to being on the same level because it counts as completing the level.
Gotcha.
So here he's at the curtain. I think I'm moving a little too fast. It's kind of unfair. We'll go ahead and give me a 1.75. So here I'm going to do the skip. I think I got it my first try. So I also got a key skip there, but his key skip was better. And so there you saw him actually, he exited out. This was what I was talking about on the blog. Is it, since we're only counting game time, and there's like this little, it saves a half second actually to exit out and then come back into the game. Like that. So here, I just got Theo. Now we'll see how long it takes me once I've got Theo.
So then does the B-side not feature Theo in it?
It does.
Oh, there he is.
Marlon just got Theo. Now you see, Marlon knows how to really fucking move with Theo.
Shit.
Because when you grab Theo, and if you're already boosting, you actually gain a speed boost.
Huh.
Come on in.
Oh.
We checked if the door was locked, I thought.
Hello.
I told
you
them
go.
to check. It's on stream. It is
It
for
is
the
on
world
stream.
Sorry, I
to
made coffee, but then I drink it all.
Now I just have to.
Okay. Oh, who's gonna win? This is actually really close.
Fair enough.
Oh no, he's got it. Oh, quick! Send me back up to times 2 speed. All right. Okay. Chad, if you have anything you want to say, let me know. All right. So then, so he beat that still. Okay. This is what's crazy. He's now he beat Temple in 13:32.
Holy shit.
I'm now at 24:41. So I'm now
Holy shit.
40. I'm now 11 minutes slower over the course of these, and we're not even to the long parts yet. So what's interesting is Marlon's actually going to do another. He has to do this what he's doing right here, which is showing the clear times for them. I think that's because if you do the B-sides, they want to see your file time and everything. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but suffice to say, I don't know how long of a break Marlon takes here. We'll wait for him to catch up to me. We can actually. Oh. So he was probably taking a break here. One of the nice things about Celeste is that you can take a break in between the chapters because like I noted in a blog by the way.
Yeah.
The game is measured in game time. So like whenever you're not in the game's timer, the game is essentially paused. The timer is paused. That's not the case for all the speedruns. For instance, we're going to see the full moon speedrun of Super Mario Odyssey. That's timed out of game. So that means that you click the timer when you start, and you just have to keep playing. There's no breaks you can take. I didn't watch the whole world record, but I watched the moment he knew he broke the world record at the very end. And he's just like, I really got to go to the bathroom. Because it's like 9 hours. Like, he did 9 hours in a row of this game. And he needs to go to the bathroom. It's totally reasonable.
Dude, that's wild.
Like,
Yeah, right?
So,
I mean,
here's me going at double
understand
speed,
it.
and also I got a head start. We'll see how this goes. Double speed, head start. Can I beat Marlon? I beat Marlon to the top because that's pretty much an auto-scroller. You can't really go faster than anyone else.
Sure.
Though he probably was still faster than me. Right, because he knows the
Damn, yeah.
And so what's interesting is that most speedrunners don't do this, but Marlon actually does the B-side of this one, Reflections, as well. What's interesting is Chai Kitty also does the B-side of Temple, the one we just watched.
Right.
But note, I am times 2. He's catching up. So we're now diverged path. He will not be doing what I'm doing right now. Here I fucked up, so I had to kill myself.
what?
I think he messed up. I don't think that's optimal.
Cool.
But he goes to the left here because this is where the B side is. Watch how much speed he gains right here.
Oh, shit.
What? Okay, I take it back. Oh my god.
Get no shit.
So now
Oh my
he's gonna zoom out. Game timer stops for a moment. Oops.
Good lord.
Oops. I didn't want to do that. All right. The soundtrack is also different. Like it's a remix of the.
That makes sense.
And some kind of song. I love the sound effect.
Yeah.
So good.
There
I feel
I am
bad
just
for
over there
those
plugging
guys.
away at times 2
They're
speed.
just there like chill, you know, and like some lady comes and like
Like, what the fuck is happening?
yeah.
I think this level, more so than the other levels, reminds me a lot of playing Crash Bandicoot.
Why is that?
A lot of the little creatures seem kind of familiar. Like
Yeah.
those little electric circles and the boxes that you jump on and stuff.
I guess the color palette as well.
Yeah, that too.
Wow.
So one
Spike
So
jump.
one thing these B-sides really illuminate and make, I think, clear in a way that we kind of need to understand is like, unlike, I would say, like a lot of other competitive games, and I don't mean that as like a diss or anything, but I think a lot of competitive games doing something that's considered easy to execute isn't bad, right? Like no one's going to like be like, oh, you won that.
Ooh!
Wow.
A rare Marlin death, right? But doing something that is considered easy isn't really like bad, right? Like if like I'm good with Reinhardt and Reinhardt's considered an easy character, it doesn't really matter. No one's gonna be like, you don't deserve to win that tournament, right? But in speedrunning, because it's only the number at the end that matters, if there's a more difficult strategy and you can execute it flawlessly, right, without like dying or something, and it's faster, that's then the optimal thing to do, right? You just have to get good at it. And in this case, the B-sides, right, act as kind of like that.
I don't know, man. Like that thing that you're like explaining happened with like Counter-Strike. Like there was they buffed a weapon at some point, like, and it was considered like an OP, like easy weapon to use, and like, I mean, a lot of people like were calling out, you know, like they were not using it, even though it was like objectively better than other weapons. They were not using it like on purpose because it was considered like a noob weapon. You know what I mean?
No, I totally get that. Realm Royale had one of those, and I still don't use it. I think that it's different though. I think that with a first-person shooter, or with a shooter in general,
a lot of that's about feel, right? But the thing is like, but the difference is like, okay, like I don't like using this weapon. I feel like I'm worse, even if I think it's like a noob weapon and I think it's easy to use. But there's a difference, right, between that and like kind of like the more speedrunner thing is like you can't beat my time unless you do the same strategy as me, right? Like you don't have a choice, right? And that's kind of more what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
So here I actually came in first. Yeah, I just beat Marlin by going at double the speed.
Yeah. I think a lot of like the differences of what we're talking about here has to do with the purpose of play. Like the purpose of a speedrun is very different than say the objective in like Overwatch if you're playing Reinhardt, or CS:GO if you're playing whatever weapon, right? Or in Realm Royale if you're using the fire venom pistol, then you're kind of an asshole. But the reason for that is because the community kind of gets together and says like, this sucks and we want it to change. As opposed to in a speedrunning game, the objective, like Eric said, is just like get the lowest time possible.
And there's very rarely, Celeste is actually an exception to this, where the game has changed to accommodate speedrunning to some degree. Like for instance, one of the biggest things that changed actually was nice skip of the key thing.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that changed was they added a thing called a corner boost into the game, because there used to be this thing where people would die on spikes. Or they would lose momentum or whatever when, like, if they would clip the edge of something, and it would feel really, it's like a feels bad man thing. So they made it so that you actually maintain momentum when you, they made it so you maintain momentum if you jump off of a corner. And just like, it's very precise, but it's like to remedy that specific problem that they were having before.
I see.
And so, but typically games where you're right, they're not likely to change unlike a normal game where like there's going to be a balance update. All right, here let's go ahead and we're back on the same beat. So we'll do me normal versus Marlin. Oh, Marlin's actually froze a little bit, so Marlin has to show. Oh. All right, and then here I'm probably psyching myself out a little bit. I'm like thinking, okay, I need to start up. All right, let's see. When does he hit start? When do I hit? How long do I take? Not too long. Wait until we see me in that, and then we'll unpause this video. Alright. So this is us starting. We'll see. I know it took me about a minute to beat this first section. We'll see how long it takes for Marlin. Alright, so he's already a faster. Now note, I just want to note something. I'm going to pause at the end of Marlin's. I have a 0 death run here. So that means that I didn't do anything egregiously bad, right? Like, it wasn't like I was making mistakes.
I mean, it's so weird. Like, it just feels slow, you know? Like.
Alright, he did it in 39 seconds. And now we just sit here and watch Slowpoke. I'm not too far off, right?
No,
the thing is it's death by 1,000 cuts, right? Like, it's like in no one section am I maybe that much slower than Marlin, right? But the fact of the matter is if every screen I'm 1 second slower and there's like 300 screens, I'm 300 seconds. I'm more than 300 seconds slower, right? Because 300 seconds is 5 minutes. But right, like if every screen I'm 2 seconds slower, then it's just like it really compounds. So we'll go ahead and we'll speed me up so that I don't look so pathetic. 1.5 times speed. All right. So now we'll see if this should be an interesting race. I have a little bit of a lead. We'll see if I can keep it.
They use the jump mechanic a lot for momentum here.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. It feels like he's just like grazing the edges of things.
Yeah.
I have 2 deaths here, so Marlon takes the lead because I had 2 deaths. It's kind of interesting how so like, he's just completing these like faster than me, like just by such an insane degree. At least now we're on the same room. So here you're going to see him do a really cool strategy where you go up and actually hit that before you get bounced up so you can do it. Whereas you see me, I did not do that. So Marlon still beat me at 1.5 times speed. We'll let him just keep going. He gets a head start here. We'll see if I can catch up.
Whoa.
So good.
Oh, I beat him in that room because that's what we call like that's kind of like a locked room, right? There's certain rooms where like right, my strategy is actually probably about as fast as the normal one. Oh, I had a death here, so Marlon takes the lead. My deaths often mean Marlon takes the lead. That's kind of funny. Let's see.
Damn.
What I'll do for this part is I'm gonna watch myself, and I'm just gonna talk about I'm gonna talk about each room and talk about what's going through my head. So this is a room where I had died quite a few times. Well, I don't have very much time to talk. I'll still try. I'll still try to talk about. Oh, yeah, so we'll do it from here. So this is a room where I want to do dash, 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 then go up. Now here I actually purposefully delay my movement because I don't want to run into that guy. Because I often run into him, and then that's more lost time. There I usually try to do a super jump to get onto this platform here, but there I messed up, so I had to do it slower. Here I was really happy with myself because I got that first try, because I don't normally. Here I actually die in this room, so I think here I waited, and then I flubbed myself, because you'll see on the next run, I don't normally wait there. I usually jump, dash, and then I don't think I messed up again. I do a lot of waiting here, because like I used to die a lot in this section, and so I would rather just wait and not get fucked up. So then there I have another die. I almost die there, but I managed to keep it up. Doing the double dash to the right was bad. Here I almost always die in this room the first time because I don't like the timing, or at least I'm not very good at the timing when you haven't died yet. But there I actually made it. This is a room it's really important for me to get on the first try, because if I don't, then I typically have a hard time with it because the timing changes. Here I just recently did this new strategy where I don't go back to the left to dash. This one I got first try, which doesn't always happen, but the last time I did it, I don't. But that room took me a long time to optimize my best way. Alright, going on to the next one. This room fucking sucks, I hate it so much. I never used to die, and then I just started dying on this fucking room. There I managed to only have 1 death, but for some reason that was my thing this weekend, is I die in that room. That room, not so bad. This is a room where I actually learned how to do a faster way the first time I did it in my casual playthrough, but I have a hard time executing. This room, I improvised this. I never used to do that, and I was like, I think I can make that jump, and I was like, oh yeah, I did. So here, I die to the snowball. This is a room where I like to go up, and then I like to do dashes that way. And then I recently learned from that platform I can actually get up to there, so that speeds up my time. I don't have to go down. Here, I don't like this room very much. I don't like almost no fan of speedrunning, I think, likes auto-scrollers. And this is, an auto-scroller would be a room where like you don't have much control over like the pace of the room because you're waiting on something external. Kind of like an escort mission, or like this where I have to wait for this block to do stuff.
Man, like this strawberry, like he's holding this strawberry for outside.
I know, like best strawberries and shit.
That room is the room I love. It's just a really fun room to do. This room, I think I die. Oh no, I didn't die. I think I died in, oh yeah. There, that was a situational really adjustment. Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. Here, I remember telling myself in that moment, I deserve to take it slow. Because I had died going too fast on that room earlier in the day. So here, this is a room I really like. I usually don't die on, which is really nice. I died so many times in that last little jump there because you can't. Head. Yeah, because you can't just dash right away. But I'm a casual. But then. So here, I was doing this thing where I dashed straight up to save probably like a half second, but I decided not to do it because of my practice runs for the day of this section. I had been dying on them a lot. Here, you're going to see I die there because I was trying to do something. I don't even know what I was doing. Sometimes you're just like, what was I thinking? And that was a what was I thinking moment. We'll see. Me at 0.5 times speed is still not even close to Marlon. Marlon skipped this entirely by doing a skip there.
Yeah, he seems like he's doing a lot of just kind of falling wherever possible, like just letting wind or air serve as one of the primary momentum or sources of momentum.
This is another kind of auto-scrolling room. I bet you my time on this one is very much the same as Marlon. Here, Marlon probably went a lot faster because you can actually shoot the gap right there that you see between those. Now here, I actually tried to do this for Daniel. Not for Daniel, but for me. But I fucked it up. I actually hit it in practice 2 times in like live runs. But then I was like, just do it safe because I was like, I'm having a really good run. There's no reason to fuck it up, you know, by trying to do that. Here, I died on this part multiple times on this day, and I've been trying to optimize it and do something new. And I was just like, nah. There, I fucked up, and I actually took a deep breath. I was like, no, you got this. Because if I had died there, that would be like, that's a really long room to die on. So now we're on the final section. There's no skips or anything here that Marlon can do. He's just got to do it all, just like me. As you can tell, he's...
I love that part.
So there, I managed to go up. This is a section I have not really died on much, but I don't do the optimal strategy because you can actually jump off the spikes to the right. Oh. This part, I think did I die on? Or yeah, I did. I started dying in this part because I psyched myself out. Because sometimes when you start doing something faster, you are trying to mix the fast way that you are doing it now with the slow way you used to do. And it doesn't work out. So for instance, in that part, it's way faster. It's always faster to do a diagonal dash, or to do a straight left or right dash. If you're moving a straight left and right, then do a diagonal, right? Because if you're doing a diagonal, you actually slow down a little bit, and you have to fall back down. And so the problem is I used to do that part entirely with diagonals. And then I tried to start mixing in the straight dashes, and that actually started fucking me up. What's funny then is I actually, if I go back to trying to do it the old way, I fuck up even more, because like, it's like not the fast way I'm used to either. So there, he actually had a death. Here I'm gonna have a death, because like I dashed twice where I shouldn't have. I think that might be my last death of the. Oh no, this is might be my last death. So here I had some troubles with this room, which is unfortunate, but it's okay. Marlon is so fast. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah, it's wild.
So like I don't die here, I don't believe. That's a part that gave me so much trouble when I started speedrunning this game. This is a part that, like, when it gave me trouble, I knew the run was over, but otherwise I tended to do well when I was having a good run. Like, this part never gave me trouble. Dump, dump. Yeah, there's a faster way to do that, but I can't execute it consistently. Maybe I died here. I think I might have. We'll see. No. Alright, good job, me.
Really good.
Alright. I'm wondering if I have another death for this run. I'm unsure. So there's Marlon finishing with a 27:22, the world record. And me, oh yeah, I did die there because I didn't do a jump. I was actually looking at my phone because Kelly had messaged me. And
me.
No. I thought to myself, I wonder if I'll say that on stream tomorrow that happened. And I was like, maybe. And then I guess I did. I think I died here.
At your phone worth it? Was it a meme I sent you?
Oh my god!
I didn't actually. So. Here's the thing, though. I didn't actually look at whatever you sent me. I just looked at my phone to see who had messaged me.
I'm gonna see what I sent you. When were you doing this yesterday?
Last night around 1.
Hey, who's in chat over there?
Hey, what's up, y'all? Have you all played Celeste? I know I have and Daniel has. I don't think Janelle.
I have not.
I have not.
Though I think you guys have watched enough Celeste now, right? Because Kelly watched me play the entire campaign, or
several times.
Everyone in this room has watched me play Celeste many times. Sorry, Ryan, that I didn't see that. Okay, then we go. Now, see, the funny thing is, I'm sure he's absolutely on cloud 9, but sure. I was elated just for getting this right a full 20 minutes slower, because like as you can see here, I'll show you my splits here. I like really just blew myself out of the way. Minus 30, minus 124, minus 143, minus 3 minutes on my best time.
Yeah, that's wild.
So, we can see there the difference between like a layman trying to play a really technical game like Celeste and somebody who's really, really, really good at the game, right? The best, actually.
Yeah.
Being it, and we'll go to that. We'll go to both of our end screens. So they watched all the credits. and I skipped the credits, so I'm a bad person. We'll see. He actually collected 2 more strawberries than me. I had 38 to his 9 deaths. No,
Damn.
9 is already quite a bit, but there's actually probably 5 intentional deaths in there because whenever you hit the retry button, that counts as a death.
Oh,
And
okay.
but it's faster when you grab a key to reset the room by retrying, and so there's probably 4 or 5 intentional deaths in here, which
That's interesting.
still, even though what's interesting is we tend to use this as a barometer of how well you did your deaths, but we'll note that still his 26-25 has some of best possible times. It also includes just moving a lot smoother, right? And that's something that's interesting. It's not just the deaths; it's also how you're moving. Also not... Oh, Play Scholar. Whoops. Why did I don't know why I'm so dumb. Ludo Scholar is Ryan or whatever.
Yes.
Ludo Scholar, Play Scholar. This is like the same name if you really think about it too much. So, what do you got? What are your guys' thoughts thinking about these 2 different speedruns? Do you have any closing thoughts rather?
Speedrunning is just so satisfying.
Yeah.
Like, I just really love the optimization of gameplay.
Yeah.
Like,
I like that level of mastery. It feels very much like kind of the way that I explained it earlier, where it's part of what makes Marlon so fast is that there's definitely a level of like awareness of where the meshes in the game are, right? Like surfaces and what those look like and how much tactility you have to actually have on those surfaces before your abilities are kind of like re-enabled, right? That level of precision, right, to use the word from last week, that is what I think is most impressive about speedrunning, especially a game like this. It's not true for all speedrunning games or games that can be speedrun, but for this one, I feel like the precision becomes really clear when there's that much awareness of the kind of mechanics of the game and the kind of, if you will, like behind the Terminator mask of the game.
Yeah, a good.
Yeah.
I want to show you a great example of what you're describing of that technical. So at the very end here, we can kind of see. So he's doing these dashes. He actually did make that mistake. So now, no, you're going to see something. Well, I have to look at how 5 seconds backs up so much, but okay. So so when he reaches over to here, well, actually, we're going to full screen it. When he gets over to here, watch what happens to the hair. He dashes into the ground. You see how he's got red hair at the end? That's a super dash. So like only at a certain area, you have to be a certain distance from the ground. But if you dash in the ground and do a jump right after, you'll maintain it. And you'll see that allows him to do another dash. So then you'll see he's doing the same thing over and over. Now doing that technique is really what you're describing as precise, is being able to get the dash back, only hitting the ground just enough to get your dash back, but continuing to have that momentum.
But like, I mean, just to add to the conversation, like, for me, it's like, it's pure aesthetics. Like, I mean, watching him, like, this speed run, like, it feels the same way as, like, watching, like, a gymnast, like, performing, like, a perfect, like, routine, you know what I mean? Like, or, like, watching, like, Usain Bolt, like, run, for example. Like, it's a level of, like, grace in, like, well developed movement that it feels so pleasing to watch. You know what I mean? Like, it's beautiful.
I totally agree.
I think it was in the presentation of Self. It was one of the first Anthro books that we read last semester, where they talked about like the waiter that like does like a balancing act, and I feel like it's a lot like that when you just, you know, you're so good at the game and so good at what you do, now you gotta put it to the next level. I think that's what speedrunning does.
So we watched me get totally trashed by Ultra Marlin. I think it's only fair we watch Ultra Marlin get totally trashed.
Oh, but the computer.
Yeah. So one thing I want to talk about is a TAS speedrun. So TAS stands for Tool Assisted Speedrun. Something we haven't talked about too much this month, but in terms of the variety of different things kind of around speedrunning that we can talk about are tool assisted speedruns. Now, there's no one out there that's saying a tool assisted speedrun is equal to an RTA or a single run speedrun. So Marlon is RTA right now, which is not segmented. It's him running the game start to finish. No one is saying that a TASBot beating the world record or whatever is the new world record, right? But TASBots are still an interesting wrinkle within the speedrunning community of like thinking if a computer with theoretically perfect inputs, right, did this game, what would it look like? So we'll give Marlon a little bit of a head start, and we'll see how he does compared to the TAS in the first real level.
So I have a quick question. Is the task, is anybody
So the look at the task is just blowing them out of the water.
Yeah, holy
it's
shit.
It's a computer that is optimized every frame. So like it's just inputting because there's
the speed is like it's going on the same speed.
Yeah, this is going on the same speed. I'll double check. Maybe it's not. Oh fuck.
Oh,
okay. I was like, yo.
Yeah, that's like creepy.
That was Okay, we're gonna do second level just because. All right, all right, we gave Marlon a head start again. We'll see.
Go Marlon.
Let me just say the speed. The when it comes to like these open areas where you can just dash like straight forward, the taskbot really moves fast. Okay, so now Marlon isn't losing as much. See that the taskbot can do more dangerous strategies because it knows it will always hit them, right?
Yeah.
Whereas so it's like there it doesn't even use the wubble wubs.
Yeah.
He's like barely using the wubble wubs.
Remember that Marlon had a head start.
Yeah.
But we'll see if the taskbot can catch up. It's almost there. It's about a half second behind. Head start means a lot in this particular run. I know that at the very end the taskbot's gonna blow Marlon out of the water. Because you maintain your momentum over screens, and in theory you can use that to create infinite speed because there's no speed cap in Celeste.
Oh, interesting.
So taskbot just got past Marlon. One thing that taskbots can be really useful for is finding new strategies, right? Because some strategy might feel impossible, right, for humans to do. But eventually, one thing that's been true very much is like some humans can adapt, find easier ways of doing the same strategies. So watch taskbot here. Taskbot's going to pick up a ton of speed. Because like
it just looked ridiculous. Oh my god.
And so then that beats Marlon. Marlon was not too far behind though, right? But Marlon also had a head start. So 1 second, can we see? Is there a file time? So 1:30 for the chapter, 1:42. So taskbot wins by 12 seconds, right? But that compounds to this is 23:32 versus the 27:22 of Marlon, right? And so this is like the theoretical perfect play run. But the thing is that humans can't do what we saw that the taskbot do on the thing.
I remember like on the early 2000s there was like a test speedrun of Super Mario 3, I guess. It was pretty famous, and that was like before YouTube, you know what I mean? Like, and when I saw it the first time, I didn't know that was like a test speedrun, like because it like expanded, like it wasn't just like I mean speedrun wasn't a thing, like a popular thing back then.
Sure.
But then like years later, I found out that like video clip that I watched, it was like a computer actually, and because like it was something like that, pretty amazing. But it was like a popular myth, like a urban legend thing, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
The internet, the good old days.
Yeah. So
it was better.
Yeah.
So I think that like when we're considering from an academic perspective, speedrunning as like this genre of playing games, right? And this genre of entertainment as well. I think tool-assisted speedruns are an interesting way to think about it, both because since the goal is to go fast, a computer can almost always go faster. It's not like it's less like other games, like if it's a competitive game between me and Janelle, the computer needs to be able to react, right?
Of course.
And so you actually need like some sort of artificial intelligence. But the taskbot has no artificial intelligence. Like it is literally just a person inputting each input for every frame throughout the entire run, right? And trying to, in theory, get it as fast as possible. And so I think it just allows for an interesting wrinkle into how we understand games. Now, these kinds of games, these 2D platformers, are a lot easier to taskbot than something like Portal or a first-person shooter, because like there's so many more inputs, right, with like a mouse. Because like technically, if I move a mouse like this, that's like 70 inputs, right? Versus where like just like hold this button, press A once, dash, like, which doesn't mean that tasking is impossible for other games, but it's just different. And so tasking is just something interesting I wanted to bring up to you guys. Let's move on to our block of world record stuff. Our first game on the block is Getting Over It. Now, this is a game that Janelle and I are interested in.
So stupid.
Hell yeah.
This is the world record speedrun.
Oh my god, he's got a golden pot.
We're gonna watch this twice actually.
What? Oh my god.
So this is the world record speedrun. I'm actually gonna turn off the sound though, because he's like listening to some weird like techno European stuff, and it's not actually the game, the audio of the game. And so you can see he's got the golden cauldron. I think that means that he's beaten the game already. Whereas if you haven't beaten the game, you have a black cauldron.
You get the sad
and so this game is of course known to be very difficult. Let's see how somebody who's spent a lot of time. No, this is one of the most popular.
The guy just spawned out of the thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
But let's instead just look at the skill of the player.
Get out of here.
That's so stupid. Oh my
It's all about momentum. It's something that you really care about, Daniel.
Yeah, but like,
Oh
look at this.
I'm
Look,
so
look,
angry.
look at the screen.
Do you have any idea how many hours I fucking spent playing this game? He didn't even go to the barbecue.
I actually have done that skip as well.
What?
I've figured out how to do it.
So dumb.
That's as far as I've gotten. Is right there.
Yeah, I think we've already passed where I got. Yeah, I haven't gotten. Oh no, I've gotten to there.
Nice.
And goodbye.
It sucks that if you die there, you fall all the way back.
You do, and then you stop playing the game for a few months.
How do you
You're like,
control
nope.
this? Is with like the
With
mouse?
your
the mouse,
mouse.
yeah.
With your mouse. This game is infuriating to play.
Oh, now
Now it's like an actual mountain.
now it's Journey.
Oh my god. Who put that there?
Why there's a shocking card?
Don't ask
in a
these
mouse?
questions.
Okay.
Now it's just...
Wow. Now he's
This.
in space.
Yeah, the
Space.
gravity changes here, and
This is so poetic.
and
The end.
time.
Cool. I'm glad that
Log
he
on the top of
doesn't-
the mountain.
he
If
doesn't
you're
trust
alone,
me.
you can come inside and say hello. Now, here's something interesting. Now, this is not a secret, even though you're not supposed to. You can't watch it on stream. Like he does. Like the creator of the game doesn't want you to. But you actually go into a chat room where only people who have beaten the game are. And
Oh my God.
here's the crazy thing: the creator of the game has it set up on his phone to get SMSs whenever anyone beats the game.
That's
And
wild.
he actually personally responds to people.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my
And
god.
now I'm gonna
That's...
now have an motive.
Yeah, you have an
It's
inclination to be
super
the game.
cheap.
The
It's
reason
a
why
really cheap game. It's worth it.
he did a presentation at the Game Developers Conference where he talked about it. So like I know that it's not a secret what happens when you enter.
Sure.
It's just I don't think he wants the chat room to be part of like
course,
streaming
yeah,
things.
that makes sense.
But more importantly,
Wow, this is so like
It's so good.
so esoteric. And
when the world record was beaten last month, Bennett Foddy. One second, I need to actually. There we go. Please go away. So I don't know how many tweets he's made recently. Let me just scroll down. Shoot, I saw it a while ago. Let me see, January 5th.
Nithawk.
One sec. He actually did a commentary of the world record, the creator of the game. Here it is.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, well, we'll actually turn it on, and so now that we've watched the world record, let's watch it with the creator. Oh, come on! It won't let me full screen from.
Wow.
Now we have to watch this advertisement for something. You know what? I'm just gonna say, don't buy this.
You know what? At least it's not CBS All Access Star Trek Picard, because I have seen that commercial easily 900 times in the last week.
All right.
So I'm like, don't fucking show me. God. Oh, it's
Oh,
just
this guy's
so
getting warmed up.
infuriating.
I just wanted to say, watching these world record runs always gets me thinking about the relationship between game designers and speedrunners. It's like quite an unusual relationship in a certain way. The speedrunners aren't like
I guess this is a
normal
different world
streamers
record
and
run.
YouTubers who play games when they come out.
Because I don't think this is the
If you
same one
watch
we
those
just saw.
people playing a game, they're struggling to learn the systems and to master them, just like you would if you were playing it yourself. And if you're the game designer watching a normal stream, you're thinking to yourself, yeah, that's working pretty much exactly as I planned. Watching speedruns isn't like that. And I think in a way, the role of the speedrunner is like the exact opposite of the role of the game designer. A game designer painstakingly carves a beautiful sculpture out of wood, first chiseling it out of a raw block and then gradually rounding off any rough edges, making sure it works when it's viewed from any angle. The speedrunner takes that sculpture and they look it over carefully from top to bottom, from every angle, and deeply understand it, and they appreciate all the work that went into the design, all of the strengths, all of the weak points. And then, having understood it perfectly, they break it over their knee. Well, that's why I love speedrunners.
And so
Wild.
that's the creator of the game talking about it. And it's kind of interesting from the game designer's perspective to describe it as like breaking something over your knee, right? And it's interesting because it is true. When you're speedrunning a game, you are in a sense breaking the game.
Yeah.
But I think different games have different levels of breaking. And so let's go to a game that was probably never intended to be run as fast as it is. Super Mario Bros. One of the most popular speedrunners. Now I'm going to turn off the sound just because Cosmic... Actually, I don't think he talks very much.
No, he's playing with like an original NAS controller.
Yes.
So good.
Alright. So he's restarting. He's about... So he has a counter. He has a timer that goes down. So presumably when it hits 0... Oh, no. I think the timer is added in after the fact. So let's see him running the game. So here he's going to be doing some warp skips. So I mean, he's taking a warp pipe to get to the end of the game faster, right? Now what's interesting is I imagine when Shigeru Miyamoto made this game, right, he probably was not imagining. So here you can actually skip the flagpole going down if you do it the right way, which saves a little bit of time.
Is this any percent?
This is any percent, right? So, yeah, and you can see it at the top there, any percent. Not that you needed to see that. I wasn't saying, like, shame on you. I was more just saying, yes, it is any percent. So this guy's one of the most popular Super Mario Bros. One. I was saying the opposite of saying sorry, Daniel. Anyways, so here there's a big skip that you can do because there's, like, some warp pipes at the end of this level. So what he's gonna do is he's gonna...
Oh.
Yeah, so pixel perfect things. Like, this is a game that has been speedrun to death. There you can kind of...
Oh, that's
what?
Beautiful.
The glitches we're going to see today go much further than that.
No.
Yeah.
That is one of the most well-known glitches, though, in all of speedrunning. So here, like, right... The thing is, in Super Mario Bros., you maintain momentum as long as you keep moving, right? And so, he can't stop. He can never stop for anything, right? He has to hold, basically, that right button the whole time, right? And then it's just about timing the jumps perfectly. So there you can see he's got...
Just 2 buttons.
He's got the splits over on the left-hand side. And he's got plus 0 seconds. And here we can tell that clearly it's not game time that's being measured, but specifically out of game time. Because, right, if game time was what's being measured, the timer would stop whenever that timer in the top right isn't going.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another skip. Which just turns out to just be a little bit faster. And that's the thing, it's right, every movement is it a little bit faster than the previous one. And so you got another warp zone, so it's obviously going to warp to 8, right? That's the final level. Or near the final level. Very narrowly avoiding the piranha plant.
That's narrowly avoiding the piranha plant is some expert play.
I think that this speedrun, more so than probably any other one we're going to watch today, emphasizes how, like, the shorter a game is, the more technical the player has to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you're doing, like, a 9-hour speedrun, you're probably going to be more likely to just take safe options as much as possible, right? Because, like, something really bad happening really fucks up a run that takes a really long time to do. Whereas here, in this run, like, it's only 5 minutes, right? So, really, like, even the difference of a single second could mean world record or, like, 5th place, right? And so, like, you have to take every risk imaginable in order to get the best possible time. But that's more achievable because the run is so short in and of itself, right? A single mistake doesn't cost you 2 hours of gameplay.
Of course.
Nice.
Here, again, it's faster if Mario doesn't walk to the castle. So if you do that just right, you can skip it. What's interesting is that used to be a strategy only task bots could do. But humans figured out ways to do it as well because it saves, maybe it saves 2 seconds. And 2 seconds, again, difference between world record and 5th place or something like that. How many, like, what's crazy to imagine is here, like, he's doing this jump here. A single, so that's really technical. Again, that's what the taskbot could only do a long time ago. People would just hit the flag. But now he's probably saves 5 seconds over the run by being able to execute that particular frame-perfect trap every single time.
I wonder what the Koopas are thinking, like,
Like,
what's wrong with you, Mario? Like, chill, dude.
And because like, he manages to get through there. Because in Super Mario Bros, the length that you hold the jump is based on, I think one of the things that makes this game probably fun to run is that the height of your jump is based on how long you hold the A button, right?
Yeah.
And so that means that it's actually, these are all really technical. Every single jump is relatively technical. This room kills so many runs. I've seen compilations of just Super Mario Bros. Players raging at this level itself because like you can die so easily if any of those things touch you. Because you're right, you stay small the entire run. You never pick up a power-up because it would be too slow. And time. You see him, he's freaking out. Let's see the elation.
I did it! Holy cow! I almost knocked my chair over. But I did it!
That's so fucking wholesome.
Holy cow!
This is 0.2 seconds
exactly
faster,
what I
or
wanted to do.
0.3 seconds faster, I think, than his previous world record.
Oh my gosh.
God bless this man.
So
We did it, guys.
if we go over, we can see that this is one of those.
Oh my gosh.
This is one of the most popular speedrunning games. It is.
Yeah, it's 0.67.
Where is it?
Super Mario Bros? It's up there.
Why am I so dumb?
Next to Portal.
Next to
Unless I
Portal.
got
There we
lag
go.
framing.
I was looking for like big Mario, not 2D Mario. All right, so that's the world record at 646.
So
Or
fast.
455.
So bad
646.
I was like, today.
And then we've got 455 746 is the next.
Oh.
Then 455 796.
Oh, dude.
456 212.
Like, how mad are
So
you third place?
let me put it this way: if that was 2 seconds slower, where would it be? 50. Yeah, it'd be in the 20s, right? So like you can see how optimized this game is, right? Where every single thing you can do to possibly save time matters, right? How long until we get to 5 minutes? That's crazy. Look at this.
Oh my god.
132 people have beaten this game in under 5 minutes. But the world record is only 4.5 seconds faster than 5 minutes.
Ridiculous.
So that means there's 129 people who are all within this 5-second window, right? So imagine how so this is the poster child for like game that is incredibly optimized.
Yeah.
And this also brings us to something that's really important. This is in Celeste as well. We can see subcategories, right? And so in Super
Right.
Mario Bros, he was using all those warp pipes, right? Well, there's also the warpless record, which is actually held by the same person, which is actually crazy in and of itself. And Cosmic has an 18-minute and 59-second world record for this, which is the only sub-19, right? This is from 5 months ago. So I wonder if GTA Ace has given up because he was not the first to go sub-19. Let's go ahead. We're not going to watch the full thing, but let's just see maybe a little bit. Obviously, Cosmic must play this game a lot. So we'll skip over and we'll see him do a part that he wasn't doing before. So you can see let's see.
He's big.
Yeah, because like it's actually better to have. There's like certain parts that are faster to have the fire flower.
Oh, that makes sense.
I recommend. I don't remember who it was, but I think it might have been Summoning Salt. Here he's not going for those flag things, probably because it's probably slower if you miss it. Probably if you miss like 3 of them, it's probably slower to go for it than it is to just go for the top.
So this is like what you were saying earlier about the safer choices depending on the length of the game that you're speedrunning.
Exactly. So he doesn't feel like in order to get the world record, he has to make like that kind of play. So here, like look at it. The fire flower obviously seems to be pretty useful.
What? The timing on that was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. There's a great YouTube video, I think by Summoning Salt. Let me check.
Gosh, I love games.
Typing, it's hard. So yeah, I highly recommend you guys watch this video, World Record Progression Super Mario Bros. 1.8 million views. I think he goes over both any percent and warpless for the like the 2 things, and he talks about how the world record has gone from like where it is, used to be to where it is today, and the strategies and the new techniques that were developed to get there. This is overall a really I can't vouch that this guy's like I don't know anything. I don't know about him as a person, but the content he makes on YouTube is I think really good like content for understanding speedrunning and how speedrunning or speed games get speedrun and slowly get improved over time. Let's go ahead and move on to our next game, which is going to be Super Mario Odyssey. So we're not actually going to watch a full Super Mario Odyssey speedrun.
What do you mean we're not sitting here for 9 hours?
So, well, there's a lot of... This is a continuing what we were just talking about with different categories for the same game, right? And this will definitely... This will happen with glitches. Or with, like different ways of running the game. So, for instance, in the Super Mario Bros., the original, we just saw the difference between warpless and where you have to go through each and every level in the game from start to finish, or warp, or any percent, where you can take any warp pipe. Any percent of Super Mario Odyssey has been broken down to sub 1 hour by Tyrone, but also by 11 people have broken it down to under an hour, right? But what I'm interested in for today is the 100% speed run. This is getting every moon. It's like getting all the stuff, and the run is 9 hours and 49 minutes, or 47. That's the world record. Now, no, 30 people have run this. This poor fucking Denson, I'm assuming they must have taken a break. But that's a 24 hours run, right? Lord. Presumably he took breaks. It might be segmented in some way. But from what I understand, did not take any breaks.
I'm doing okay, Devil Boy.
Okay. Yeah, why is that locked? I don't know. So here we can see, obviously we're not running, I just skipped to a random part in the video, but here he's got to do every single challenge that this whole entire game offers. Right?
Oh, this game looks very...
And so let's just skip to the very end.
Don't worry.
We're gonna go, I'm gonna go to the very end.
Heck. 47, 13. I'm free. I did it. Oh, I never have to play this category again if I don't want to. Or we can do it tomorrow.
That is such a Twitch streamer sentence that just happened.
What?
Playing this for 10 hours, now I never have to do it again. Also, I'll probably do it tomorrow morning.
Yeah. And so, Super Mario Odyssey, I think there's one reason to bring it up is, on speedrun.com, it chronicles how many active players the game has. And Odyssey is the most active players of any game right now, 166. Followed by Resident Evil 2, Super Mario 64. So you can say Mario is just, like, he dominates this, right? Odyssey, 64, 8, Super Mario Bros., Super Mario World, Sunshine, Super Mario Maker, New Super Mario Bros., right? So, like, a lot of these games... A lot of these games, right, are Mario games or Nintendo games. We've got Zelda: Link to the Past, Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Let's see, do we have any Breath of the Wild? I'm surprised that Breath of the Wild's here too. So this is just page 1, obviously. Celeste is also an incredibly popular game, number 4 on the leaderboard.
Here's a fucking real question: how does one speed run Stardew Valley?
That's a good question. Where did you see it?
It was down toward the bottom, and I saw that, and I was like, that's not something I've ever thought. There it is, like a Half-Life.
We probably don't have time to watch any, but you have bundles percent, so this is getting all bundles done.
How quickly can you get to these different things?
Marriage percent. It's getting, so it looks like Shane is the most eligible bachelor. You can also do it based on different, then you got mines.
Oh shit, what's the 120 mine? How fucking fast did you get there?
So this is, okay, so the level, 45 minutes to the level.
Get away from me, what?
So that could be something for you to watch sometime, maybe, or maybe follow Stardew Valley and see people speedrunning on Twitch or something.
Unexpected.
10 minutes in between 1 and 2 for that one.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not surprising. 45 minutes is ridiculous.
You got almost a full minute here. Bundles percent, you got 7 or 8 minutes here. This is glitches, but with glitches, you can do it in 17 minutes, I guess. So look at how many categories there are.
So who here has played Stardew Valley before?
I have. That's a game that just it sucks your time up. It's funny
that just doesn't make sense in terms of like my own expectations.
So let's talk about glitches. So we've seen most of the games that we've watched, like that 9-hour speedrun of Odyssey. I'm not saying there weren't any glitches present or anything like in our Super Mario Bros. But the game was still beaten as it was kind of intended to be beaten. Even with the warp pipes, right? That's still an intended mechanic to skip around Super Mario Bros, right?
Yeah.
Kind of birthed out the fact that there's no saving. So it's like, if you can find the warp pipe to 8, then you don't have to beat the game up to 8 in order to play 8, right? So let's look at a category where...
people really crap out this game.
So this is probably... Super Mario 64 is probably like the biggest speedrunning game of all time. And what's crazy is it has probably... We'd probably argue it has 3 really, really competitive categories. Not unlike most games. Most games will have one competitive category, then like what we call side categories. Like not the main deal, but like something that people will run for fun. Maybe because they're a streamer or something. So right now, the big cheese in Super Mario 64 is cheese, of course. He's got the world record in 120 star. But it's also this category, 120 star. Because some wealthy patron decided to give $5,000 to whoever can beat 120 star and under 130 for the first time.
All right, guys, start training right
Yeah,
now.
Really?
yeah. It's called
Who is
a
this guy?
bounty. I don't know the specifics.
But someone has like $5,000.
Yeah, and then not only that, but it's like $5,000 to the first person, $4,000 to the second person, and that incentivizes other people to do it a lot more too, right? Because if I'm like number 3, I still get $3,000 or something like that. So this is the run. This is like the run right now. People are trying to do. And note how it's actually broken into different categories based on the system, which is something you were concerned about before.
Yeah.
So virtual console, which would be playing on like a Wii, but playing this, and then on an emulator, right? You got these different times.
Just one thing, like, can you go to the virtual console?
Yep.
It's interesting because here you have much more diversity in terms of like countries, you know what I mean?
Oh
like,
yeah, for sure.
It's like
Spain, US,
other games you have
Sweden.
like just like US people.
I don't know.
Like,
Look at this. This top 7 is there's 3 Americans, yes, but then 4 non-Americans.
yeah, like this one is even more diverse.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. It is
This
a
is
little more.
interesting.
An emulator is a lot of Australians are playing this game on emulator. It looks like maybe the game is available. So this is the game as intended to play with all the stars. Right? There are 120 stars in the game. So this is collect every star. You get 70 star, which is what's required to open up Bowser's the final level. You normally would need 70 stars, but that's not the fastest way you can beat the game, of course, because we've got 16 star. Which is now kind of a more... I don't think it's a totally defunct category, because as you can see, the things are being still updated. But it's not the fastest you can be doing. There's 1 star, and there's 0 stars.
That's interesting. Like
The difference between them being about a minute.
And now there's only
That's
like
wild.
Japanese people,
Mm-hmm.
and 1 star
Yeah.
as well.
Well, the platform is Japanese, but I guess you're right. A lot of Japanese. So like, you're right. It is much more. The reason why you play in Japanese is because the language I think goes by faster, the dialogue, and that saves you time,
So
right?
interesting.
So let's go ahead and watch the whole world record for Super
Dude,
Mario.
how
0.
did I not adjust that angle?
This is
So-
1 star or 0, 1?
This is 0 star.
No,
oh,
1 star.
why are we at 1 star? I don't want 1 star. I wanted 0 stars. It's even faster. We don't have time to spend on this.
It's the same guy.
All right, yeah, same guy. All right, so he had just practiced something. I guess the start of the game is from menu. It looks like. So starting the game up.
No time to play with his face.
Yep, no time to play
Yeah.
with Mario's face.
That's a shame. That's the best part of the game.
So he's waiting a sec. He's got water in his hand. It looks like it's kind of casual to start because he's waiting for a cutscene. And that's one thing we'll see in Zelda too. The
Yeah.
current Zelda world record is like 6 minutes of cutscenes, 5 minutes of play.
Which one?
Ocarina of Time, sorry.
Makes sense.
So we got this little thing. This is before.
Oh man, this game is so.
So what I'm really interested in
God,
for you
we
guys
saw
as you guys
the
watch
with
this
one.
is to what degree do glitches make a game entertaining to watch from a speedrunning perspective, and to what degree do they create maybe what we call an unpure speedrun or something that is less entertaining?
Interesting.
That's going to become a prime question when we
It
watch.
depends on how
the
interesting
Zelda-
watching the glitches, though.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
This will be a prime question when we get to Super Mario or to Legend of Zelda, because a lot of fans feel like the game is dead because of the recent developments of how the game is now beaten. So here you can do this.
Oh.
You can do
I
this
love
glitch
this.
where you can just
Yeah.
skip doors by
What?
because
Oh my
I get
God.
so
This is
basically.
entertaining, man. I mean,
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, it's entertaining. But the question is maybe from like a streamer's perspective, is this entertaining, right? Like watching somebody just see if they can execute a glitch. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just
You know-
kind of asking. It's fun the first time.
I would never watch a live stream. Like I would never go on Twitch to watch it. Like someone trying to do this. But I would watch on YouTube afterwards, like world record, whatever.
Yeah, I've watched people speedrun Ocarina.
Obviously, still skill involved, right? He did a crazy glitch, but he still has to beat this level, right? It's just shortening the amount of skill challenges that you need. Go ahead and continue.
I feel like the glitches are really maybe they're not that hard to do.
They're really hard to do.
But I
Don't
feel
worry.
like they're all the more difficult, and I feel like that's a different expression of skill. But you have to know about them, you have to remember them, you have to master them. I think it's its own kind of skill expression that's maybe just different, but I think it does remind me of what Fadi said about breaking the sculpture over your knee. That's what I see the glitch as. Exploiting and finding, exploiting, and mastering those glitches. I think that's really where you break the thing over.
And like in the speedrunning community, at some point, like
so there we
are talking about different people, like people that find the glitches, like they are almost like scholars. You know what I mean? Like finding the glitch doesn't necessarily mean that you can like execute it.
Here's another glitch.
Like TAS, right?
You guys, watch this. This is a really crazy, precise glitch.
I managed to do one of them once. Like, I was like hanging out with friends and we were trying to like emulate like the speedrun, like the 16 star or something. And like, there's one glitch on the infinite stairwell. You know what I mean? Like,
which we'll see in this run.
Yeah, I managed to do that once, but it's like after like 40 minutes trying.
Yeah, these glitches are really, really technical.
Yeah. The one with the rabbit, oh my god.
The question is whether they hit the skill expression that people value or want to see out of the game. Like here, we see that like he's doing like these crazy moves like up the stairs to speed up. That is sometimes what people call like the beauty of speedrunning, right? It's like what the fuck is going on, right?
Yeah.
Like this, like that's not intentional, but it
what?
looks beautiful, right? It's like cool.
Oh
Whereas
my
like
God.
if you're just glitching through half the game, is that what people want to see, or is that what people value when it comes to the game? The expressions of skills. That's a way to skip it, and he's got to wait for the. There we go. So you can't spin them around too much, right? Because that's a waste of time. So getting all this stuff done in the first try. Now note, we only have a couple minutes left of this run, but Bowser's already going to be tried. So you have to click the keys, I guess, right? Like to get to the different parts of the castle. And so there hasn't been a skip yet invented to get through the parts where you would need a key. So even though it's like we're still seeing the game is still being completed in some of the ways that you imagine it as a casual player, right? Which is how what's interesting is you see how it enters back into the level right after. It's because it's faster to skip out and then go to the main hub, right, than it is to try to move up to this door from the other thing. It's kind of like the save, like the hitting the retry button on Celeste.
Yeah.
And again, this is because it's real world time. So here he skips that.
Oh man.
And now
Yeah.
so and skips that door. So the reason why that happens is because I guess there's no cap on Mario's movement when he's going backwards. So if you can get like, and so this is I think what you were talking about, Dana.
Yeah, it's so hard to do this shit.
Oh my god, what?
And he gets to obviously first try. And so now we've got, this is the last level of Super Mario 64, right?
My God.
Where it only took us 5 minutes to get here. This is exactly what Shigeru Motomoro was imagining when he spent over a year developing Mario's movement without even developing a level.
This is exactly what he had in mind.
That crazy awesome skip. All right. You can get up that without having to hit the button, so it must be a little bit faster. Another skip.
Oh my god.
All right, and now he's going to go fight Bowser. Oh,
Ooh, loser.
Oh, you see his face. He's like, ooh. Right? And like a task run, right, where could probably do this even faster, right? Like, because it wouldn't even make that smallest of mistakes. And so this one you have to hit Bowser, I think, 3 times, as opposed to before, where you had to hit Bowser only. I bet you intentionally got hit there, perhaps,
probably,
so that he could move through Bowser, right?
Yeah, probably.
That's really good. I don't know if that's true though, because he didn't do it the next time. And so the game ends, I think, when if he gives you a star, he gives you something. I think the game ends He's obviously really happy. He hasn't finished the run, but he feels like he's close. We'll turn on the audio.
I don't know what to say.
So-
I kinda just got 0 and 1 star world record in the same day.
Oh yeah, he got 0 and 1 on the same
Damn.
day. The thing is, they're very, very similar records.
I just got both.
Obviously, they're using a lot of the same skips. So if you can do one, you can probably easily
I
translate
really wish
those
it
skills.
wasn't the
As
Strokes,
opposed to like
but,
the 120 star run, right, which is obviously a very, very different route than what he did here. So that was like an example of us seeing a glitch being used, but the game was still completed, and generally, like the final boss was still beaten and all that stuff. Now,
That is crazy.
let's watch. Yeah. What did you say?
It's crazy. Like,
So we're not going to watch the world record Ocarina of Time speedrun yet.
no.
We
2
are
days ago.
we are going to watch Torge's 10th place 6 months ago. Was the world record for 6 months almost. Speedrun. 16 minutes. And so
Holy shit. What the fuck?
let's see, where does
Oh, I've seen this.
I've never seen my chat move like that before. That was crazy.
Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna double speed just through the cutscenes for now. Just to save us a little bit of time. Because he's not actually playing the game. So
I love this game.
what's
So
interesting about Zelda speedrunning is that, like Super Mario 64, for the longest time, Ocarina of Time was completed similarly. You used glitches to get to the end of the game, but you still had to beat the final boss. You still were playing the game. But the skip is really interesting. So here we've got this speedrun, or this kind of cutscene going on. Beautiful Ocarina of Time N64 graphics.
Yeah,
we
man.
see all the...
This means you're about to have a really, really good day.
This means you're about to play the best game ever made.
point of view
Yeah.
shot from a
Oh,
fairy, right,
so
running into the
good.
fence.
So good.
That
Hey!
fairy, like, I mean,
Listen.
We've got...
Name yourself.
I wish I could like have my
Yeah.
memory erased of this game so I
And
could
then
like
just play it
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That
So here
was
again, we see the
good.
Japanese text is faster, right? Because they've got more information dense, or
He's
text
playing
dense.
a GameCube controller, right?
Yeah, you can see the
yeah,
input
it would
controls on the
it would
side
appear that he's. I think he's playing the GameCube version
yeah.
of the game. But I can't be positive. So
Wow,
I
that
like
was
that
so
it's-
cool.
so it's faster to
My-
right move backwards than it is to move forward. So he's going to be doing that for much of the run, which is crazy for the amount of memorization that the player needs to have.
Seriously. Dude, I can barely find that thing, like, intentionally. Like, looking forward, I still walk right fucking by it.
Mm-hmm. So here the game starts off as being pretty normal.
Watch out for them rocks.
Mm-hmm. Hey.
So if like there's a lot of different theoretical ways we can think about video games, and I think glitch runs are probably one of the better examples of one of the ways we can think about speedrunning, which is we've been talking a lot in the arena about it being a competitive move, right? Like people competing against each other and themselves to get their best time. We saw that with our race today and stuff of that nature. But we could also think of it as queering a game, right? Like playing it in a way that it's not in the way that it's not intended to be played, and things like that. And I think glitches kind of add to that kind of understanding of speedrunning, right? Like, and so
The
here,
tutorial.
yeah, the tutorial is a big part of like both this run and the any percent run. And so, let's see, how are we doing in time? It's 3 to 5. We got plenty of
we're
time.
good.
This is why we started 30 minutes early today. So here he's got to buy the shield. Oh, and he notice how throughout the run he was specifically probably thinking about the rubies. He's exactly 40, right? So you've routed. Routing is a really important part of speedrunning too. But how do you guys view glitching through a game as being part of the way that you could queer a title?
I'm really interested in that. I would want to know more about it. I know you mentioned that there's a text that comes from, and I'd be interested in reading it. What is that from?
I'm not exactly sure. Stuart was telling me about it. I have to look it up and read it.
I don't know. I think I would want to know more about it and kind of what the intention behind the language of that is.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what does your gut tell you? I guess I'm interested in that. All right, so we got a cutscene. I'll double speed that.
I guess, yeah, go ahead, Kelly.
My guts is 50-50 because you have there could be a queer story in the game that just gets completely obliterated when you skip cutscenes.
It's true.
So I understand the thought between and like I understand how speedrunning can be queering a game, but it can also be erasing it as well, erasing queerness as well.
That's a really good point. Yeah, because a lot of the narrative elements of a game are kind of irrelevant, maybe, or just maybe not as important in a speedrun.
Mm-hmm.
You're not playing it because you're trying to figure out what Ocarina of Time is about.
Mm-hmm. You're playing it to beat it as fast as possible.
Right. So it's kind of, I see it very much as breaking a game, especially one that's like as, you know, masterfully made as Ocarina, and then you take it down and you break it into its component parts and you say, here are the mechanisms of this game, and here are the mechanics of it, and here are how I can exploit it, use it to my advantage for that purpose of defeating or beating the game as quickly as possible.
Here we see a skip, so, you know, he skipped the web because the
Yeah,
web
man,
doesn't
that's some good
exist.
shit.
I think it's because the web doesn't exist if you can't see it or if you're up high enough. And so, like, what he did is he, like,
That's
did a
amazing.
specific strategy. Here he's doing, I don't know exactly. It's been a while since this was like a super big run because it was a sub 17-minute run, which was like a big deal. Any minute marker, right, is a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand, like, you guys, like, talking about, like, through that, like, framework, but I don't like the vocabulary of breaking the game, you know what I mean? Because, like, anyone that had
That was
you know-
Fadi's vocabulary, right? Right.
Yeah.
yeah,
Go
but
ahead.
like everyone that like made like, but like breaking a game is like something that you hear about people talking about when they talking about speedrunning. But like everyone that had like designed a game or at least like play around with like a game engine or whatever know how messy like it is. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like when you're talking about like breaking or querying a game, like it feels that we are talking about this like almost sacred relationship between like the developers or the designers and like the players, and like it feels as almost that like you're rebelling against the intent and the will of the developer and the designer, and like you kind of erase like the game as something in itself that is already messy and broken, like even though I don't like this idea, because like what the guys do, he's not breaking anything, he's just like exposing like the back end of the thing, you know what I mean, like it's almost like you're like stitching like tapestry, but like you only see like the front part, like the beautiful tapestry, but you don't see like all the stitches and the like all the like stuff that you have to like do in order to have like this thing.
Yeah, I think I see what you mean. Yeah.
That in the surface it is beautiful, but like on the backdrop, like it's like messy and all, it has all these like tricks that you have to do in order to like make that thing appear to be beautiful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like a kind of interesting way to think about that might be if anybody has been to Disney World or Disneyland, it's Disney World in particular. You know, there's like miles of tunnels underground because the whole park is built like a floor up. It would be as though you see the complete beautiful thing.
That was intentional.
On top. I figured.
It's the world record.
Yeah, I was like, so you see like this amazing fully constructed thing on top of beneath it and behind it there's a really big mess. Yeah, no, I see what you mean. I guess my hesitance with the language of queering the game, I just I would want to like know more about it.
We want to read the argument, which we haven't done.
Yeah, I would just want to know more, but I like your use of the word resistant. I think that might be like a maybe better way to phrase it. Like you're resisting the maybe original intentions or mechanics as they were supposed to be played. Not necessarily breaking it in that you can't play the game anymore.
Yeah.
Right, but resisting maybe the original intention.
Yeah. I'm really like resistant to this idea of like breaking a game, meaning that you are going against the will of someone, you know what I mean? Like because in Nintendo and whatever studio, like the guys are literally like trying to optimize, trying to like in the code doing like designing assets that like fit the memory of the game. You know what I mean? Like they are not like thinking about the game as this like gem, like this jewelry that is very like it has to be polished, of course, but at the same time it has to be like functional. It has to be like it has to run, you know what I mean? Like it has to literally be run through the memory and the processor. Of
So,
the console.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the run a little bit. I love this discussion that you guys are having, though. We up until this point, we've been pretty close to the way you normally run the game, conceptually speaking. He went to the Deku Tree, he beat Goma. Now things get weird.
Yeah.
Because of the way the
Yeah.
game's
I'm like,
code,
that's not
because of the way the game's code works, dropping the bugs, catching them again, allows you to start doing some really weird stuff with the game's code. Because the game has a way of these warp pipes here, taking you to a specific place. But there's a way to manipulate the way that those warps and the way where this door will take you when you black screen. And now he's in the final.
What?
He manipulated it to be in the final level of the game. This is obviously the first time a lot of people see this. They're like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, well, dude, what the
And
fuck just
there's
happened?
Ganon, and he's still
Shit.
He's still Child Link.
That's wild, man.
And he's dead.
No, he's not dead. He still has to actually fight Ganon.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
No, but like Ganondorf is dead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like,
Ganondorf is dead, and Ganon's about to come back, and
Yeah.
there's Zelda. It's interesting that the asset, right? It's so
Zelda's
little
like,
Link.
who is this kid? Like, what
It's
are you
like,
doing here?
Who's this baby?
Aren't you
She's
supposed
like,
to be like an adult now? Like, what's happening? Why is this guy dead here again?
I like your subtitles.
Mhm.
Why is this
I'm
dude
just-
dead?
I'm just curious how those glitches were found, or like, I mean, it had to have been someone like within who.
The community,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Figured out, yeah. It's got to do with the way the game saves memory. It's
Yeah.
basically,
Interesting.
and so this is the part that I guess kills a lot of runs, because if you get hit by any of these meteors, it's bad. But if you can get hit by that meteor, it's good.
Bye, Zelda.
Goodbye. Catch up later.
Yeah.
And then
see
the-
ya.
Bye.
I don't care at all. I hope you die.
I hope you die.
And so again, we're going out of bounds.
Wow. What game?
And then
Void.
took it, like every
Oh my
damage
God.
taken right is intentional. You can't take anything else.
Oh my god.
She's fast.
Look how much time is left. That's wild.
And so you can see, like, Torge is going
Oh my
crazy. You can tell he's stressed out. He knows that this is a good run, right? Like he's minus 2.5
Oh my
seconds
God,
for this optimized of a game. That's crazy, right? Minus 2.5 seconds. So he's kind of freaking out. He knows that it's possible. He's got his hands
That's
up.
the worst moment when you know it's possible.
It's possible, but not like
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
sealed yet.
Yeah.
Ooh. It's like I know how this turns out.
Yeah,
I'm
this
still
guy,
stressed out.
This guy needs a little bit of sunlight. He's a speed running a lot. Probably.
Listen, we just have pasty skin, us white people.
No,
we
but
can't help it.
look at this guy, look at this guy.
I know, he's pretty pasty. But it looks like there's sun in there. So,
It's really
All he
just
needs is the
incandescent
sunshine in his
lighting.
victory.
so we can imagine speedrun games as possibly querying them, possibly as a competitive way of playing games. Are there other ways we can kind of theoretically compose an academic understanding around what speedrunning is? An act of optimization, of leisurely, some kind of leisurely activity of like doing something in the most efficient way possible.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know that like it's a bummer, but like for me, speedrunning, like using glitches, is nothing more than like engaging in a different conversation with the game as a technical object. You know what I mean? Like, because if you are playing like glitchless. If you're playing like a different category, like without exploiting the glitches, you are engaging with the game in a particular way. And the understanding of the game as a technical object becomes different. But like, I don't see this as breaking the game as so much as engaging with the game through a different strategy. You know what I mean? Like, because the game is the game itself. Like, it's not a different version of the game, but you're exploiting a different aspect of the game that like we could say that is not like the intention of the game designer, but like I really don't
Knocks
like
the sword away.
Yeah.
Interestingly,
The sort of time that we
interestingly
never
that's really
got.
important because you cannot kill Ganon without the Master Sword,
Mm-hmm.
even in this run. And so he's gonna actually use the stick to start. And there's a glitch
Yeah,
where you can
get
use the
him.
stick to just infinitely hit him over and over and over and bam, got him,
Amazing.
Oh man.
got him.
That's beautiful.
And now he can run over. Luckily, like I said, that Ganon flung the Master Sword away because he did not have the Master Sword before, right?
Yeah.
Now he's got it back.
Thanks. Get wrecked, nerd.
And almost done. Back to the stick strategy.
Yeah, like
Very good.
like the demon lord is being like destroyed by a kid with a stick.
And he's
He's just
holding
like
it.
lobotomizing his balls.
I mean, but actually, I'm over here like, I mean,
And
Like,
then
Ganon's taint is destroyed at
Yeah.
this point.
Oh my god.
this is
How
why
many
you
times
watch.
have we
This
gone
is why
through
you
that
watch our
many times?
academic serious play stream, right?
someone enter into the record. 0 days without someone
And
saying taint on
that's
stream.
it. 1:16:58. That was an amazing record at the time. Absolutely spectacular. Now I really have to go to the bathroom, so what I'm gonna do is I want us to start up the current world record run, which is somehow
Oh my
under
God.
12 minutes. Oops.
Shit.
1 sec. Let me go ahead and pull
Like,
this up.
what?
Interestingly, the person who holds second place is a trans woman.
Nice.
Fuck yeah.
But there's a cutscene at the beginning, and I'm just gonna let the cutscene play. You guys talk about other ways you can read these games, and
Oh, this one is playing on a N64 controller.
Yeah. That's what's up.
Yeah. This is the real deal.
I just love.
Oh my
I mean, I really love the tracker for speedrunning. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just really nice to see like the different quote unquote chapters that come from this.
Yeah.
Like, you write like before it was like you had collapse, you had
Ganondorf.
bugs, yeah, but you have escape, and then it ends with whoa.
I love the whoa. Like just.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really interested in the way that you're kind of talking about it. It's like, I see what you mean about it not being a way to break the game, right? In a traditional sense, the game is still working,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's still a complete run. I do find the glitches interesting to watch, I guess. The speedruns that I've watched of Ocarina in the past have not used glitches. So that's why I was like, what? So I think that's really cool. But I think there's also something to be said for a fast run, maybe like a world-leading run that doesn't incorporate any of those glitches
Yeah.
and just works with game as intended,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like object as intended.
Yeah, but like, I mean, but my only problem is like when we have this idea of like an art form or an art object, whatever, in not just games, but like for example, let's think about like the Renaissance, like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like Michelangelo and Raphael and whatever. Like when you see like the finished object, like the painting or the sculpture and whatever, like you erase a lot of stuff. Like for example, oil painting revolutionized everything because now you could like spend like 5 years painting the thing because like you could like go there and like erase something and put there and like paint over it and like, and those guys had like 1,000 like apprentices and stuff and people that did the work as well, and you have like a lot of these like layers of meaning and materials that come together in order for you to have to go to the museum
cutscene's still going.
and be able to
Yeah.
like experience that painting or that sculpture and whatever.
Yeah.
Or even music. There's a beautiful documentary on YouTube about like I forgot the name, like the producer, the guy that produced the Nirvana album Nevermind, and he's talking about how he tricked like Kurt Cobain to record I don't remember the song like several times because he needed to like to overdrive the guitar to a certain point, but Kurt Cobain was like lazy But the guy was like, oh no, like something went wrong, you have to do it again, you know what I mean? Because he needed like 7 different layers of recording in order to like make the sound full. But like when you're listening to it, you're just listening to like that thing, like that final cut of the song.
Yeah.
That polished version that someone like had to like overlap of different like layers of guitar and like fine tune the bass and the mids and whatever.
Same start going for the
You know what I mean? Like, and with the video games, I feel that like this is like up to 100 because like you have several different like technical contingencies working together in order for you to be able to like execute this kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, and what the speedrunners do, in my opinion, is like open the black box. They are opening the black box and they are seeing, oh, okay, so this is how it works in a like a very like minimal level, like the code in itself, like how memory is allocated in the cartridge or whatever the game uses. You know what I mean? Like, and trying to play that game. This is the game that they're playing. They're not playing the same game that we played when we played Ocarina of Time, like as kids. You know what I mean? It's a completely different game. It's the same software for sure, but it's a different game. It's different rules and whatever. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't consider it as breaking the game, because it's not the same game that we are playing. They are not bound by the same rules that we are playing. You know what I mean?
So then would you agree that a speedrunner that does take advantage of glitches and uses those things relates to the game as a mechanical object, as in like something composed of moving parts that they have to work together, and you have to like flip the box over and look at the back and see the way that things are working, and then like say that you're unplugging something, you plug it in somewhere else and say, well, it'll still work if I do this.
Yeah, because like when we are playing this, we are worried about like, okay, now I need this ocarina, I need to get those, like I need to go to this dungeon and beat that boss because Zelda told me to, because I have to save Hyrule and whatever. But they are not concerned with that at all.
Save Hyrule.
They are concerned of like, oh, I need to get this rupee because I need to storage this byte in that memory unit so I can do the trick and whatever. You know what I mean?
So it's like the resource management is totally different, but the act of managing those resources is still the same.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
2 things. One thing that like the progression of world record speedruns reminds me of here is back when I was in early high school, I was in this thing called Bible quizzing. It sounds it's not as lame as it is.
Oh my god,
but,
my partner sucks at Bible quizzing.
Your partner sucked at Bible quizzing?
No, she was very good at it.
Oh.
No, very good at it.
But with Bible quizzing, what it basically is, you're sitting on like kind of like some kind of you're not sitting on a buzzer, but you're sitting on like a little thing that, and when you stand up, the thing goes off and it lights up on a circuit board and shows that you got up first. And what will happen is that someone will be like, according to Romans, 6:29, who is blah blah blah. And now if you've got Romans 6:29 memorized, you can pull it from your head and be like, the who in the sentence is Paul or whatever, right? And so the way that Bible quizzing is supposed to work is you're supposed to hear the whole question, then someone has to be like, light bulb moment, stands up, whoever stands up first gets first crack at answering the question. I remember going to the national championships of Bible quizzing when I was in high school. And when I went, I remember watching the finals of this game. Now this is a game that when I would play with people in the northern Wisconsin region, it was not an uncommon occurrence to sometimes have a question where no one got up, right? These people were so good that, and their team of like 5 people would have the whole section of the Bible that was for the quiz memorized. Wild. But what became the linchpin? Like for instance, speedrunning, we can imagine what's the linchpin? What's the thing that you have to do faster than other people? You don't have to do the cutscenes faster than someone else, right?
Sure.
So let's say we remove the cutscene contingency. That's like removing the actual Bible from Bible quizzing. What's left? Well, who stands up first?
Yeah.
So people will start standing up before the question was even finished, and then they would have to complete the question and then complete the answer, right? So suddenly it's a level further, but since the contingency is still who gets up fastest. Yeah. So what ended up happening is people would get up.
You have to do a lot of squats.
People would get up at such a point where like not even maybe just one word of the question had been uttered, and then they have to try to guess at what the question was going to be.
What?
And the best team, the team that had won like 2 or 3 years in a row, was this team I think called like Revolution or something like that. Dumb team name. But this team was trying so hard to be so fast that they ended up finishing the tournament with like negative 500 points, which is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Because all they cared about was getting up the fastest. And you got negative points for getting a question wrong. And so they ended up just continually getting questions wrong. And because they were getting up so fast. And to some degree, I would argue that the spirit of the game, and this is like a term that I'm interested in because I've written a paper about the spirit of the game and stuff, and that I'm looking to get published and stuff. But the spirit of the game is just, in one sentence, is whatever the game is in your ideal fantasy. Like, what is Super Smash Brothers when it's played perfectly, when it's at its best, at its peak? What is Zelda when it in your mind, not in the actual game, when it is played, right? Speedrun Zelda is, of course, very different to what it is in your mind, to what it is when to like maybe the first time you play it, right? You know, the first time I played Zelda, right, it's this grand adventure I'm going on, collecting all these different items, saving the princess, beating the big bad evil guy, riding a horse, beating all these dungeons, right? That's what the game is. And so, to some degree, these are just different. It's a different idea of what the game is. Now we only have 2 minutes left, so this is where I want to talk about this run a little bit. This is where it diverges heavily. We weren't getting the slingshot before, but that's not what I'm as concerned about. What this run does, and what was discovered in Zelda, was this thing called ACE. What ACE stands for is Arbitrary Code Execution. Basically, what this means is you have a controller in the third slot, and you do all these really particular movements like you see now with the slingshot. We're going to see in about 2 minutes. Like he's resetting various parameters within the game's code. That's all that they're doing right now. So like here he's getting to a different part of the game, and he's like moving this rock because it adjusts the arbitrary code. He talked to Navi because it's adjusting this arbitrary code. He's moving around the space. He's moving into here, presumably to adjust the code in various ways. And I'm just going to give you guys a spoiler alert. What is going to happen is at about the 12:01 mark, or about actually the 11:58 mark, he will have adjusted the code in such a manner that it's just going to play the end credits.
What?
It's just going to play the end credits. No beating Ganon, no beating the game. It's just, I got to the credits the fastest, right? And that's what any percent is. It's from a new game, get to the credits, right? And it's not from a new game, beat Ganon. If it was that, then the last run would be the world record, right? And so here, like, you know, he's gotten to the point where I guess he can manipulate the code in a certain way. And so he's working on it on, I think, the other controller, because you need another controller plugged into the third player slot in order to do this. And it's incredibly technical stuff.
He's holding nothing, like.
And so, oh,
You're dragging it back.
I'm so sorry, Kelly.
It's okay.
Yep. And so, what's interesting to me is that when this was discovered like a week and a half ago. So like the first video we saw was the world record for like 6 months, and the world record for like 5 years prior to that was relatively similar. Find the bugs, use that as a way to teleport to Ganon, and then from there you beat Ganon, you win the game. And I think people really liked that speedrun because on one hand it showcased the crazy nature. We have 8 seconds, so and there we go. He knows because like he doesn't have to do anything now. He's just waiting for the end credits to start. And time.
What?
So
Okay.
Oh,
that's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, great face.
Yeah.
So 4, 5, 7 years, the world record for Legend of Zelda had been still beating Ganon at the end. People, I think, found this very satisfying because while there was this crazy bug skip, right, to skip a bunch of it, you still had Link running around and like killing things with a stick, and it was all just it's so the taint is being destroyed, whatever, right?
0 days.
But when we get to here, it's just Link dancing around in a forest, aiming a slingshot at stuff, suddenly clips out of the map, and the credits start. And for many people, I think what I would call the spirit of Ocarina of Time speedrunning right, which was still fucked up beyond belief,
Yeah, sure.
has been violated by this. Not violated is probably the wrong word. Has been transgressed or morphed, or it's a different game to them.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally a different game. Like in the old one, it was this really weird technical thing, just like this. But at least Ganon was still being killed at the end. And now, a lot of people said that Zelda is dead. Even if it keeps going down, the world record, for them, it's not really beating Zelda anymore, right?
Interesting.
Which is interesting because it was still a glitchless thing. It was only 5 minutes slower before, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that I find really interesting. And I think it's like worth thinking about and discussing.
All I'm saying is, if you don't write that first Stewart short paper, I might.
Correct.
But it is
You should do
your
that.
words, so you should.
You should do that.
Okay, what exactly am I doing?
You know how we have to write the cinema
Yeah,
is dead paper
yeah.
again?
So instead of writing the cinema is dead, I should write about how
Zelda's dead.
Zelda is dead.
Even
A
though it is,
response
it's
to
not.
glitches
Like,
in the
I mean,
speedrunning community.
I
emailed
understand.
him that.
I
That's
understand
pretty
your
sweet.
arguments.
Mhm.
I really like the idea of the spirit of the game, but I feel like we have to be aware of two things. The first thing is like, I think that the idea of the spirit of the game is also very contingent to the afforded materiality of the game in itself.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, so this is something that's like, it's not like just an abstract idea that exists.
Mhm.
Like,
It's connected to something physical.
Yeah,
like in this
like,
case,
yeah,
The Legend
yeah.
of Zelda.
so even though like, because you're describing it as something that is happening like culturally or like in the mind of the gamers, you know what I mean? Like, oh, the gamers have like this ideal type of how
Yeah, this idea in
yeah.
the game of what the game is supposed to
Yeah,
be.
but what the game's supposed to be is also like embodied in the game itself. You know what I mean? Like, so this is something. The second thing is like, one of the good things about like the speedrunning community, in my opinion, is that like they can branch out. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so this could be
Yeah.
a different category.
Yeah, exactly. Like it could be a split in the category, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, and like we can see with, let's go ahead and pull up The Legend of Zelda.
Ganonless here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There is something called Ganonless.
So we've got any percent, like which is with Lazoots, which is like that's the one we were just watching. We got 100%, right, which is 3 hours.
3 hours.
Oh, wow.
Right, so like,
Dude, that's still.
Glitchless, which is interesting is like glitchless is actually only 10 minutes slower. Now, no, this is glitchless any percent. So this is beating the game as intended without any major glitches. But what's interesting is the 100%, you can still use any glitch you want. So it's actually probably still faster to teleport around, grabbing every item that you need, or every item to get 100%. And then we got glitchless 100%. Unrestricted. I don't know what that, any percent unrestricted. I don't know what the difference is between these.
That's a huge
Glitchless 100%. Yeah. So we have to view the rules here. See 100% from 100%. See
Wow.
glitches any percent
Oh,
for
thank
any
you.
percent
Very
for thing.
informative.
There's Ganonless here, which is 32
Oh,
minutes. I don't know exactly what that is, but I guess it was slower than the old one.
Yeah.
No IMWW. So like right there is lots of things. But I think when we're thinking about the spirit of the game, for a lot of players it was the any percent, right? That was like the spirit of what the game was like this any percent run. And the other ones are neat, right?
Yeah.
But they weren't why they played the game, right?
So then, would you say that these top 9, so after Torchy, after that, would you say that all of those, because there's such a huge difference between the 10th and the 9th,
Well, even Jodenstone, this 5 days ago, very likely doing the
same skip, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see like.
Oh no, that one it actually said no ace. It specifically said no ace, so that means
Okay.
it's not arbitrary code execution.
Okay.
Continue though. What were you saying?
That was just my question. Is like, so these people, right, that are all like within the last few days, are these all ace probably?
Yeah, every one of these is ace because you like Torj was incredibly precise, right? That was he probably run the game hundreds of times to get this particular time.
And you
right?
can see like the difference in the
and so when it
platform as
drops,
well.
yeah.
Yep.
So maybe this.
Oh yeah, I
thing
think
is
you have
only-
to play it on the N64. You cannot execute the arbitrary code execution in the way that
makes
is
sense.
done otherwise.
It's interesting. None of the other players seem to do N64. Like if you keep scrolling.
Yeah, it's all Wii Virtual Console.
Yeah.
And like another probably criticism against like the idea of querying games, like speedrunning as querying games, like at some point like it gets very hard to be able to like to engage in this community because at some point like you need this particular platform with this particular version of the game, and that in some cases they are not like super accessible. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
so for example, you need like a Japanese version of the
Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need this specific version of the cartridge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and though, like you need like all the equipment.
Yeah.
And this is not something that is very affordable for most people.
And even if it is cheap, there's still a barrier to it, right? And there's also a barrier of time commitment, right?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
and I guess there's a different, like, let me put it this way. Celeste is a great example of an accessible speedrunning game because, like, you can just pick up the game, play through it once, and be like, oh yeah, I want to play through it again, and see how fast you go. And the game will time it for you. Everything is really easy and accessible. You can play against yourself.
You have many platforms to choose from.
It was free for a day.
It was free for
that's a huge
that's a huge boon to accessibility. Here, imagine the arbitrary code execution. Think of all the research you'd have to do, all the understanding that you have to do just to start from, like, just to even compete with these people, right? To play what we call the same game, right? Because Torge is not playing the same game as they are, right?
Not at all.
And they're in the same category of the game, but they're playing different games to some degree.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a high barrier to, like, doing the ace, right? Doing the thing. I think that's something to think about. And if we're thinking about queering, I don't think when we think about queer as, like, an academic adjective or noun, depending on how you're using it, or verb, it's a very God-termy kind of thing sometimes. I don't think accessibility is necessarily the highest thing on what it means to queer something. Or something can be queer and be very inaccessible, I think. Right, like queering time is, like, I think in a lot of ways being inaccessible from a time perspective, but it does create a barrier of entry that could be considered, like, creating troubling the idea of understanding it as a queer thing or queering something as a verb.
Yeah, like,
I'm gonna go ahead and start the portal world. I thought I pulled it up.
Yeah, man.
Inbounds. Here we go.
Yeah, there it is. I'm gonna run to the restroom.
Yeah, like, my criticism about, like, the expressions are, like, I feel that, I mean, as you said, like, it's a huge investment, you know, like, not just, like, financially, but, like, in terms of time, in terms of, like, commitment that you have to do in order to be competitive, like, in this, like...
It's not like Overwatch where I'm competitive, in quotation marks. If I just put in the game, hit play, and I'm playing against other people, right?
Yeah.
I'm competing against them. And yes, I might be worse than them, but at least I'm still on the same playing field playing the same game.
That's why, like, I don't know if, like, last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, the first thing that I asked you about was, like, how this relates to labor. You know what I mean? Like, because...
I actually thought about that a lot this morning, but continue.
Because, I mean, in terms of, like, different esports, I can, like, see, like, for example, I can reasonably understand, like, a kid looking at, like, League of Legends or Fortnite or Dota or whatever and thinking about, like, pursuing a career, because you have, like, institutions, you have, like, a more well-designed possibility of, like, making a living out of like, playing that game, you know what I mean? Like, because you have, like, tournaments and prize money and endorsement and whatever. But with speedrunning, it feels very hobby-ish. You know, I'm not saying that those people are not professionals by any chance, but it feels they're more like it doesn't feel like labor in terms of, like, a career, you know what I mean? Like, it could be ignorant of me, but, like, I don't know how I feel about that, but, like,
streaming, I think, complicates that a little, because, like, if you're doing it for, like, entertainment and your personality while streaming is, like, something that people come to watch, I think that then it becomes labor, right? Because there's probably a labor argument to be made for any game being speedrun, but I think Can we
just take a moment to appreciate the Squidward portal?
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I think that one thing that, like, I think is in favor of this, like, is this labor, maybe not kind of argument, is that, like, when I think of something as labor, and I don't know, maybe Mark's, I think that there's some appreciable value to the thing. I don't mean that in, like, a negative sense of there's no value to speedrunning, because I think that there really is.
Sure.
But Rather, there's like an appreciable, like if I make a piece of wood into a toy, there's like, right, like that's what Marx is really concerned about with labor, right? Like literally like turning a resource into something else. Like that is his traditional definition of labor from the start. Like we can argue that it changes over time as he gets with angles and everything, but like nothing's really being changed as much. I mean, yes, the game is being changed from the state of being unfinished to finished, right? Yeah. That's the, and maybe even in a particular way, like from unfinished 0% to 100%, right? Different kinds of completion. But because the game is so easily then reset from there, like our conceptualization of labor is changing something, right? Making something new, bringing something of value, something like that is changed. It doesn't exist when it comes to speedrunning. I think that
the value being produced is like entertainment value. I guess, or like.
Just speaking of entertainment, I'm sorry to interrupt. Just watching this, like, seeing the glitches in Zelda were more interesting than this, where 90% of this run is just sitting in the elevator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
not what I missed.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are really technical things kind of going on, right?
Yes.
So like
and they're going backwards, so you can't really see what's happening as much.
Right. But it's like, this is the longest one so far. But there's that elevator again.
Yeah.
A lot of the early parts are the elevator for these but I think it opens up a little bit more later.
Yeah.
Wait till you see we're gonna watch 2 portal runs.
I love this game so much.
So you can get big speed boosts. So one thing to note for it
is very technical, and I appreciate what's going on in between. There's no way you can not spend most of your time in the elevator without being good with the not elevator.
Yeah,
part.
because there's just a certain amount of time in portal that has to be spent in the elevator.
Yeah.
So, so like here, right, like it's so precise, like where you have to aim each portal, right? But it's interesting, this is a very much in a sense of, well, I wouldn't call it breaking the game, but we haven't dealt with puzzle games up until now. Mm-hmm. Puzzle games are typically meant to be solved with a particular solution in mind, right? Mm-hmm. When you play through a portal level, like the designers were like, this is the intended way of passing 11 and 12, right? Right here, in what is Chazal is doing. And so, but instead, Chazal's like, if I just aim my things really perfectly, I just skip the whole level.
Yeah.
And, but you're talking about the elevator, and I just want to note, time without loads, time with loads. So that actually when they do the thing, they actually take out the loads. You can see this, and this is the inbounds time. So some of them don't have it, but they cut out the loads from the timer in the end, because that's to give everyone a fair shake. Because that would be really, if we're talking about inaccessibility, you'd have to have the best computer, because loading times would otherwise cost you precious seconds. And as we can see, right, seconds matter a lot in a lot of these games.
Like my question about labor and like accessibility and privilege about like speedrunnings and esports in general. Like for example, in Brazil right now, one of like the most like popular esports is actually a mobile first-person shooter game called Free Fire. Mm-hmm. Free Fire is huge in Brazil, just because like it's a very not simple, but it's a very like affordable game to play, because the mobile game, you don't need like the best smartphone ever in order to be able to play it. So like a lot of like you don't need like a powerful gaming PC in order to play it somewhat competitively, you know what I mean? So it made like this kind of affordability made it very popular like in Brazil right now. So we have like Brazil is like the world champion, like it's not just in Brazil, but like Brazil recently won the world championship this year, and like last year actually, and this year like the world championship is gonna be held there in Brazil as well.
Oh, cool.
So this is something that is interesting, like because the basic income of the population is not like high enough in order to like everyone be able to afford the same amount of time and resources in order to be competitive in a video game. those things like make a difference. Like when you get like nitty gritty, you know what I mean? Like
I totally agree.
Yeah.
you don't actually need to like go all in or be like have a certain amount of like resources to like try to make a career or labor out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Boy, it is a lot of elevator time.
Yeah. Which is awesome. Like like in the actual game, like playing the game like as it was supposed to be. Like
These
those
are
elevators
reprieve.
are
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
But then, in the speedrun, they're just kind of getting in the way.
Damn.
I want to play this again.
There's like, I guess there's like a way you can shoot them through walls, right? And so,
Interesting.
Wow.
God, this game was so. I mean, it still is, but goddamn phenomenal, especially for the time.
Yeah, it was. It's funny, I haven't played very much Portal because at the time that it was a really big deal, my computer could not handle it.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the game when it was free on Steam at one point, and then like never really played it. But I do play a lot of Gary's mod and TTT within that, and this is one of the weapons that you can use.
Nice.
And so that is my understanding of what's happening.
It's
Yeah.
one of the best games that you can play in one sitting.
Yeah.
Like yeah, you can
Yeah.
play in one sitting and like it's very rewarding. Like
yeah, I think, so precise.
Oh my god.
You can't even tell how the puzzles were intended to be solved.
No.
Because like, you
No
just
idea.
you just like
Oh my god.
yeah.
and now I'm in the final room.
Wild.
So at least they still have to do the thing where they grab all the cores, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that
Do you get to like play long enough for all the passive aggressive comments that GLaDOS makes?
I do see all of
yeah,
those.
there seems like some are. Oh yeah, so the game is over here. So that was time.
Huh.
So, what I want to show now is what's interesting is Portal has two different ones. That was inbounds. Let's go to out of bounds, right? It's like it's 3 minutes faster.
Yeah, I'm like, so what does that
Yeah.
look like? It's just the whole thing is the elevator.
The whole thing is the
Just
elevator. So
start
yeah,
to stop.
it looks like they're gonna restart from 0 seconds. Or,
Oh, keyboard.
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of players will put that kind of thing on their stream.
Do you mind if I close this ad?
Oh yeah. Please,
outta here,
please
Boston
do it.
University.
You don't have to ask to close
Wow.
an ad.
You
Obviously,
weren't just looking at it like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with a puzzle game though, I think the argument for for breaking the text. I mean, it's always interesting. Like I like what Fadi was saying about the way that you intended for like the players to struggle against whatever is going on and stuff like that. Is like suddenly it's just different, right? And so like that, if you're thinking of it from the perspective of like there's a particular way this game is supposed to be played, then the metaphor of breaking makes sense. If you're thinking of it more from the perspective, I think where Daniel was thinking, which is a little new materialist, which is thinking of the material as having like a life of its own.
yeah.
Yeah.
Then it's like you're kind of removing the developer's intended ways of playing. So like you see, here's out of bounds. So, like this is, I think, kind
I
of.
see.
So like you can see like they're like aiming. It's actually less confusing than the inbounds one, right?
Yeah.
Because like we can be like, oh, so like, you know.
There's like a logical progression of movement here.
Yeah, so you can see like.
Yeah, I mean, like, can you pause it? Like, no.
Well, yeah. When he's out of bounds, I'll do it. Yeah.
It's like maybe do you
Yeah,
feel
here.
better?
Oh, I hit the space bar, so I apologize.
Do you feel better about an analogy that maybe talks about it more like, imagine the way that the game is supposed to be played, or the way that you would maybe traditionally play Portal, is like following a trail, right? And then when you decide to speedrun it, you're going off trail, fully aware of what that means.
Okay.
Does that-
yeah.
does
yeah,
that flow?
Yeah. Also, like, I literally went to Disney World like during the break, so I really like your metaphor as well, because like during one of the rides, the thing like, okay. So this
Nice.
is the kind of thing that you would see if you were like messing with like 3D Max or
Yeah.
Cinema 4D, you know, like
Yeah.
any software that renders like when you watch like making offs of like game designers and like you are talking about the art director of the or the 3D guy that are modeling the thing. This is what you see in their screens. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like the whole like map and like how things connect and like they're always like people have to. We have a word like in Portuguese. I don't know how to translate this to English, but we have a like when you have to make something work, but it has to it's improvised. You know what I mean?
What's
Like
the word?
gambiarra.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like for example, if the chair, like if this thing like falls off, like the arm of the chair falls off, and you like glue something, in order to be able to put your arm into it.
Like jerry rigging.
Like jerry rigging or an environmentalist term. MacGyvering is a good one.
MacGyver, yes.
An environmental new media materialist term would be upcycling, where you're kind of like editing the object to return or restore functionality that is maybe a higher use value than it was before since the armature broke.
Exactly. And like dealing with like messy stuff. So game designers are doing this all the time. Like a game, like the design of a game is super messy because you have to be able to like reuse assets or like find more like efficient ways to like render something. And like this is what like and I love speedrunning because like they made this stuff apparent. They made this stuff like visible to like the audience, you know what I mean? Like because we're not speedrunning this, but we are like witnessing like how the game is somewhat developed, designed. You know what I mean? Like
it's like watching someone tune a car.
Yeah.
It's kind of like watching someone do that as opposed to watching someone win a race.
Exactly. And this is the thing about Disney World because like we were in one of the rides or whatever, and like the thing like stopped and then like you break immersion, you know what I mean, like because you realize that okay, so this is something that is like hanging for this. I was like scared for my life. I was like okay, I'm gonna die now.
Gonna die here at this place on Earth,
you know what I mean. No one dies here, but I'm gonna die here, you know what I mean?
You think people don't die there?
I mean oh my god, like but
that's cute.
Wow, but like
spoken like a true Floridian.
People totally die there, man.
But like really? But
like a lot of people have died at Disney. Is that like a myth that people that aren't from Florida still think that you can't die at Disney? I know of at least 14 tragic deaths just in Magic Kingdom.
There's like the crocodile thing too.
There's the crocodile thing, there's the monorail. I'm not gonna get into it, it's really gross.
Yeah, but it's I hear, you know.
Not related to speedrun.
Not related, I mean it can be, but it's definitely not meant to be. Someone did try to speedrun a monorail once and it didn't work. It didn't go well for them. You can guess why.
This put a lot of things in perspective now. Thanks, you know.
You're welcome. I'm here with disastrous Florida facts whenever you need them. Also known as Florida facts.
Now they finally got the two portals,
God.
so now things are gonna probably get a lot more fucked up.
Yeah, dude, what?
And this is the thing, like going through a materialistic perspective, like when you think about the relationship between gamer and designer or developer, and you think about like only in those two terms, you kind of lose the agency of the game as a thing, you know, as an object.
Spoken
as
like a real true materialist.
Yeah, right. But so true.
Yeah, you know what I mean, like, and look at this, like, you know what I mean. This is
I
crazy.
mean, it's like what Jane Bennett talked about, right? You got to consider the vibrancy, the materiality, and the actual agency of objects, even if they are. What's the word?
Non-humans.
Yeah.
Yes, I was like, there's an English word for it, and I can't remember.
The
Inanimate.
non-human term.
Yeah, like if there's an inanimate object, like it still has some kind of agency because it exists in the world and therefore is affected by the world. But I like what you bring out about like highlighting that.
They're just teleporting to the end. They go out of bounds.
They're on the engine.
Yeah.
You know, like it feels like they're playing with the engine.
They go out of bounds, and then they move it, and they're in the portal already. So they kind of stay in that liminal space in both places. So when they move the other portal, the one that they're not in, then they can just move out of the portal. That's what makes this, I think, a game.
Now I see.
So for some closing thoughts, and if you guys can jump in, of course. But so one closing thought I have is, fuck.
Oh my god.
I had a good thing. So one closing thought I have. It's like, so what makes a game like a popular speedrunning title? Something we've been thinking about. Like, what makes a game a good speedrunning title versus a bad one? I think one thing that we saw a little bit today of that we didn't necessarily discuss was the cutscenes in Zelda. I think a game with lots of areas where there's little player agency ultimately can make for a bad speedrun. So, for instance, I think if you're playing a game where like there's very little opportunity to go faster than someone else, right? Like a lot of things just bounding your movement or bounding your ability to do something more quick than someone else. Then I think a game loses its. We're almost done, by the way.
It's ridiculous.
I think a game loses a little bit its ability to be like a speedrunning title that people want to play, right? That people are interested and engaged in playing. Let's see. How does the out of bounds? They still have to collect these, I guess.
Yeah. This part actually looks remarkably similar to the other one.
Yeah. That's interesting to find that overlap of things. So I think when we look at a lot of the games that like to be speedrun, well, platformers are a natural one that tends to get speedrun. And I think a big reason for that is because platformers are games where it matters how fast you move, right? Like, and so like, and where movement is like all the game is. So it's easy to imagine like, oh, I can move faster than you, or I can move faster than myself. And it's easy to imagine them as games. Let's see. Have we already hit time? This timer stopped. He's playing with the game, right?
He's just messing around.
Yeah.
The cake is a lie.
Mm-hmm. And so that's like, and if we go to like the top games, I think we can see popular game right now because it just came out. That that makes sense because these are current active players, right? Not necessarily total runs, but platformer with a high emphasis on movement and high execution. Platformer execution. Platformer. I'm pretty unsure what this game is.
It's a mobile game.
We could argue platformer, right?
Yeah. I think
or some kind of platform, but movement is still all this game is about. This game is 100% about movement.
Like kinetic games.
100% about movement. Then we have, I think that's what we have here is the second wrinkle, which I'll call game nostalgia factor. So people love Link to the Past, people love Ocarina of Time, people love the Zelda games. So they want to play them fast because they love those games. With Portal here, we have another wrinkle, I would say, which is games with very unique mechanics. Again, very mechanically interesting, but Portal just invites you so much to. And I'm going to use the term you hate, but to break and I'm saying this in a more positive sense, so not in the negative sense of destroying the game, but in the positive sense of Portal invites you to break the game in a sense because the fundamental mechanic the game is based around is something that it doesn't exist anywhere in the world, doesn't exist even in any other games. It's this idea of putting a portal there, moving through this portal, and constantly moving these portals around. And every puzzle is breaking physics in a sense, right? And I think that encourages players to want to speedrun it because the whole game is about breaking the world and what does it mean to do that. And then speedrunning I think makes sense. Another platformer. Third wrinkle here, Super Metroid. Another highly technical game, has platforming movement options, but is also, I think what makes this game really popular is that it has many different ways of routing the game, right? Because it's a Metroidvania, right? It's literally a Metroid game. But the game is a big open map, and so the fun of speedrunning it is part of finding the best way to move around this map, to collect the items that you need in a certain particular way, right? So execution is part of it, but in very open games, unlike Super Mario, which is very linear, but in very open games, it suddenly begs the question, it's a puzzle for the player to solve. It's a very unique puzzle, right? It's what's the best way to move through this? Probably nostalgia for SpongeBob. Minecraft is maybe a little nostalgia. Another platformer. I don't know what the League of Legends.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Well,
next.
we'll go ahead and we'll just look tutorial. Just beating the. I beat the tutorial in 2 minutes and 7 seconds.
I'm hot shit.
I 1v5'd in certain. I got 50 kills in 10 minutes. I don't know.
I've never really thought of it.
Yeah.
I've never thought of speedrunning as I can reach X objective that quickly, but I guess if you were to just simplify the definition, that's exactly what it is.
But so we see that there's a mix between games that are popular, but a lot of nostalgic games, and a lot of games where movement is the primary thing about the game that is people are interested in doing.
And something interesting also, like we have like in my imagination we would have more games that are being like designed to be speed run. Like for example, Celeste. Celeste is like up there, but like can you move up, Eric, please?
Yeah.
Like you have Celeste, speed run probably. That Crossy Road, I don't know, but like I feel that become like something that like developers are looking for. Like we had Katana Zero like down 4 seconds.
I guess we can watch this.
Yeah, like I've never thought of Crossy Road as a game that you can speedrun, but I mean, there you go. Yeah, Crossy Road is just Frogger with a chicken.
Yeah.
For your phone.
Who has the worst speed run in Crossy Road?
Me.
Panda Fun, 11 seconds.
So what are the other things here?
1,000 hops.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
But yeah, we haven't reached 4 o'clock, so I want to close with one last thought, if that's okay, with everybody. Does anyone actually? I'll ask. Does anyone have any closing thoughts before I go?
I have a lot of thoughts.
I do have my thinking face, but the thoughts are not coming to my mouth.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Daniel?
I said enough stuff already.
Alright. So I want to return one last time, especially, and we're going to go to the Celeste one for this. One last time to what the genesis of this show is, right? It's talking about competitive games. And I think in a lot of our discussions of speedrunnings, this is something that I think is like less evident or less has been less considered, not in a bad way. I'm not admonishing us or being critical, but rather it's very easy to imagine speedrunning as like querying game or interacting with the game in a new way or breaking the game, like all these other different verbs we've been describing it as. But chiefly, at its base, I think speedrunning is competitive, right? At least when we're talking about it as a spectator thing. Like, we don't go watch somebody who's bad at Celeste play the game. Even if they're trying to play their fastest, it's fun watching me because you know me.
Yeah.
But nobody else in the world cares about the guy in 529th place, right? That is my best. I'm not on here yet. I'll submit it, I guess maybe when I get home. But I'm 47, 47 like 14. So like right in between. Like these are somewhere like I think.
Gamer Dude.
No, I think I'm right after Molodon here, or right after Gamer Dude. So, or somewhere in this. Maybe I'm right after Thor. I'm before Twiggle. I know that. Yeah, I'm 47:16, but I'm 0.4 seconds slower than Molodon. Good for you, Molodon. But what I'm trying to say. Speedrunning games is competitive. Especially when we reach the highest echelon of play, where people are pushing the boundaries of how fast or how quickly you can compete or beat a game. But I think one thing that separates speedrunning from other kinds of competitive games is we could describe it more like a golf than a hockey, right? In golf, Tiger Woods is out there playing on the same day that Phil Mickelson is playing, right, or something. They're both playing the same game. They're both playing in the same conditions, relatively speaking. You know, the wind is obviously going to change and stuff, but generally speaking, right, they don't play on different weekends because the conditions would be different, right? They're playing the same game, the same weekend, in the same place, and then it's about whoever can do that thing better, right? But they're fundamentally playing against themselves. They don't actually, there's no interaction between them.
Sure.
Besides maybe, like we might say, is like, oh, Tiger did this crazy trick to pass this particularly difficult obstacle. Now we'll see, can Phil do that trick as well?
Yes.
Same thing will happen in speedrunning, right? Like, I did this crazy trick, now we'll see if I can do it again, or if someone else can do it to beat me. And I think imagining speedrunning and the same thing even with marathon running, right? Marathon running is similar, and which is timed very similarly, right?
Yeah.
You're in theory running in the same race, same time, same place, same amount of miles, and like you can in theory collide with each other because you're physically in the same place. Yeah. But typically that's not a condition to the race that is heavily considered when imagining why someone won the race, right? There's a non-interactivity to it. And I think that there's a really interesting paper out there, a book, that could talk about speedrunning in context of these other competitions. What does it mean to compete with other people when there's no interaction on the level of the actual game that's being played between the players? As opposed to in Counter-Strike where when you zig, I zag, and suddenly the whole game is different.
Yeah.
And there's a contingency between us that changes the way that we play, and it's about my ability to adapt to you and your ability to adapt to me. And so I just don't want us to lose sight of the idea that speedrunning is also it's a competition. It's something that people enter the arena of competition for, and that is a primary driver in why people do it. Even if we imagine that it is queering the game, I think the vast majority of these people playing the games are not imagining themselves as queering the game. They are imagining themselves as racing other people. They are racing themselves. And that's something to just consider and think about and imagine speedrunning, despite playing a single-player game, is this competitive thing.
Or racing the game itself, I mean.
Yeah, because
absolutely.
in so many ways, like in the way that we were talking about it earlier, it feels like one of the ways that you're competing is against what the literal mechanical constraints of the game present. Like, you can only do out-of-bound things in Portal in such a way. You can only ace Zelda in such a way, right? So I do wonder, to what you just said about, like, there's a book out there and a project, I wonder how much of that should consider too. It's like, these are traditional competitive settings where it seems very much like, yes, you're competing against yourself, but you're also like submitting that competition result for greater consideration among a bunch of people. So it's like 2, if not 3 different levels of competition depending on what kind of run you're doing. Are you competing against the game mechanics and yourself and everybody else at speedrunning, or are you just competing against yourself in speedrunning, right? Like the different levels and kind of what the implications of that are on both the player engaging with the object and on the object itself, I think would be interesting to figure out. Yeah.
And as just the last thought, under a minute, it'll be interesting to see if speedrunning ever becomes something other than like, we can see Celeste is one of the very few examples of this. I doubt that Zero Mana, like me, is trying, or was trying, that this is a year-old run, is trying to beat the game and get the world record, right?
Sure.
How many, as speedrunning continues to develop as a hobby, as a thing that people do, where are we going to see the lines blur competitively? Where it's only competing against yourself, and you're not trying to be the world record, but you find that there's just something inherently peaceful about just playing Celeste as fast as you can. Or about playing Super Mario, getting 100 stars and being like, yes, I did it, and I did it in 1 hour. Well, 1 hour would be crazy because that'd be 40 minutes slower or faster than the world record. But I did it in 3 hours. Like, yes, I did it, right? And I think that there's something really interesting there about the rise of speedrunning potentially as a what we more call a casual hobby, as opposed to a competitive way of playing video games. But I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see if that day ever comes, or if it will always just be relegated to competition between the fastest possible players, or at least in the widest scope, competition between the fastest players. But we're way over time. Anything? I don't want to stifle anybody. Anyone got any last thoughts?
I gotta go.
Bye.
All right, bye, friends. Be back next week.